There comes a moment, not once, but many times, when your soul whispers, "This is not all there is." It's that pull inside your chest, like something ancient trying to surface, trying to remind you that you were never meant to merely survive, pay bills, and die. You were meant to rise, to craft, to build, to feel life in high definition. You were meant to become something far more than the version of you that's just getting by. That whisper, it's not noise, it's a signal. And here's the truth. The world does not give you the life you want. It gives you the life you demand with your habits, with your decisions, with your unrelenting standards. You don't stumble into a life you love. You build it. You carve it. You earn it in the silence when no one is watching and everyone else is asleep. The life you love does not wait for permission. It waits for your command. Let's begin with this. 1. Take full ownership, no more excuses. There is a moment in every life when the mirror stops lying. A moment when your reflection speaks back not with words, but with truth. A truth so raw, so unfiltered, that you either shatter it or you surrender to it. And that truth is this: the life you're living is the one you've allowed, not the one you deserved, not the one you dreamed of as a child, but the one that reflects every choice, every compromise, every excuse you've rehearsed into reality. Let that sink in. No one is coming to rescue you. There is no cavalry, no lucky break, no handout disguised as destiny. And yet, this is not a tragedy. It is liberation. Because if no one else is responsible, then you are free. Free to change, free to rise, free to become the weight you carry. It's not punishment. It's power, waiting to be claimed. Ownership is not blame, it is freedom. The moment you take full responsibility is the moment you take full control. No more deflecting. No more waiting. No more someday. There is no someday. There is only now, and what you choose to do with it. This is the harsh, holy truth. Your life is your fault. But fault isn't the same as failure. Fault is the starting line of every transformation. It's the refusal to hand your pen to the world and let them write your story. It's the unflinching courage to say, this chapter is mine. You can't rewrite your past, but you can reassign its meaning. The pain, now it's a lesson. The failure, now it's a forge. The regret, now it's fuel. But only if you stop using it as a crutch and start wielding it as a weapon. You see, the enemy isn't your circumstances, it's your story about your circumstances. The lie that says I'm stuck because of them. I can't because of that. It's just who I am. No, it's who you were. You are not your environment. You are not your upbringing. You are not your history. You are your decisions. And every decision is a vote for the kind of life you want to live. You've got two choices: continuation or creation. You can continue the story you've been handed, repeat it, recycle it, relive it, or you can create a new one that begins not with comfort, but with courage. And that courage starts with radical honesty. Ask yourself, am I playing at my true potential? Am I showing up as the person I respect? Am I doing what I know I'm capable of? Or just what's convenient? Because let's get one thing clear. You cannot negotiate with greatness. It has terms. And those terms are non-negotiable. It demands you show up when it's inconvenient. It demands you do the work when you feel like hiding. It demands you stop lying to yourself about why you haven't started yet. The truth? Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. They settle. They soften. They seek comfort dressed as success. But not you. Not anymore. If you've heard this far, if this is stirring something in your bones, it's because there's a version of you screaming to be seen. One that's sick of watching life pass like scenes on a train, while your soul sits idle in the station. You're not meant to spectate. You're meant to build. But nothing gets built until you stop making excuses. Excuses are elegant lies, wrapped in soft language. I'm too tired. It's not the right time. I just need more clarity. No. What you need is a decision. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is built with brutal clarity. Clarity about what you want, clarity about what it costs, and clarity about what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Tolerate average, and that's what you'll get. Tolerate chaos, and you'll keep drowning in it. Tolerate delay, and you'll die with your dreams still inside you. Ownership means you stop hoping and start building. It means you stop outsourcing your happiness to people who don't know your soul. It means you stop praying for motivation and start acting like discipline is your religion. You want better? Be better. No one owes you transformation, but you owe it to yourself to stop playing small in a life that demands your greatness. There are no shortcuts, no secrets, no one weird tricks. There is only work. And not just hard work, honest work. Work that forces you to confront your flaws. Work that makes you sweat, shake, and want to quit, but do it anyway. Work that no one applauds, but everyone feels when you walk into a room. Because ownership isn't just about action, it's about identity. You don't just do the habits of a successful person. You become someone who doesn't recognize anything less. Ownership is when you raise your standards so high, the old you suffocates in their presence. It's when you say, "This is who I am now," and anything less dishonors the vision I've been gifted. You were given a life, one life, not to squander, not to survive, but to shape. So shape it, mold it, burn down everything that isn't aligned and rebuild from the bones up. You are not broken. You are becoming. And becoming requires letting go of the illusion that someone else holds the keys. You hold them. You always have. Now, unlock the cage and rise. Rise without apology. Rise without permission. Rise without the weight of who you used to be. Because ownership is not a one-time act. It is a daily declaration. And today, you declare, no more excuses. This is my life, and I'm taking it back. There is a quiet kind of power that rises in a person when they stop waiting to be chosen, when they stop asking for approval, when they stop shrinking to fit into spaces they were never meant to survive in, much less thrive in. That power, that still thunderous force, it begins the moment you say, enough. Enough waiting. Enough wishing. Enough being a victim of my schedule, my habits, my fears. Enough letting the day own me instead of me owning the day. Because the world will try to mold you, bend you, sell you 1,000 paths that promise ease but steal your essence. But the one who takes ownership, that person cannot be moved. Ownership is not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not the stuff of highlight reels and filters. Ownership is brutal. It's raw. It looks like saying, I'm the reason I'm here, and I'm the reason I'll get out. It sounds like, no more blaming my parents, no more blaming my job, no more blaming the economy, my boss, my city, my past. It's staring into the mirror and realizing the enemy and the answer have the same face. That's not weakness. That's the beginning of strength. You want to change your life? Here's how. Change what you tolerate. Change what you expect. Change what you demand from yourself when no one's watching. Most people don't lack goals. They lack standards. They say they want success, but they're unwilling to stop negotiating with their limitations. They say they want wealth, but they won't master their mornings. They say they want health, but they won't give up convenience. They say they want love, but they won't love themselves enough to set boundaries. Do not say you want something if you're not willing to become the version of yourself who can handle it. You don't get the outcome by wanting it, you get it by matching it. Ownership is when you take full responsibility, not just for the results, but for becoming the kind of person who can sustain them. Because what you don't change, you choose. And every time you choose comfort over commitment, every time you choose blame over breakthrough, you reinforce the cage. You build bars around your future and call them reasons. But reasons don't set you free. Results do. And results are earned with consistency, with conviction, with ruthless self-respect. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped tolerating the bare minimum from yourself? If you stopped giving yourself a pass every time it got hard? If you stopped showing up 70% and expecting a 100% life? What would happen if you actually held yourself to the fire? Not with shame, but with reverence, with the deep, burning belief that you were made for more, that the life you crave isn't a fantasy, it's a reflection of your potential knocking at the door. But here's the catch. That door is locked from the inside. No one else can open it for you. Ownership means grabbing the key. Ownership means becoming the version of yourself who earns it. The disciplined one, the clear one, the hungry one, the one who chooses growth over ego, the one who's willing to look foolish to become wise, the one who's not afraid to start over as long as they never stop. This is the war inside, between the you that settles and the you that soars, between the one who rationalizes and the one who rises. And the only way the higher version wins is if you stop making room for the lesser one. No more backup plans. No more halfway in. No more language that softens your standards. If you say you want it, then act like it. Because life doesn't give you what you hope for. It gives you what you prove you can handle. So build the rituals. Build the frame. Build the storm-proof soul that doesn't beg for better circumstances. It becomes the better circumstance. And when the winds come, they will, you won't crumble. You won't fold. You'll rise taller because you didn't build a life on chance. You built it on choice. You took ownership. And that is unshakable. And now we go beyond decisions, beyond declarations, into the sacred realm of execution. Because ownership without execution is just another empty promise. It's not what you plan that defines you. It's what you prove. You don't get credit for good intentions. You get results from relentless implementation, from showing up when it's hard, from grinding when it's boring, from building when no one else believes. Most people stop when it's difficult. The ones who rise, they start there because they know. Discomfort is not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're finally doing something worth becoming. You want to own your life? Own your patterns. Watch your mornings. They tell the truth about your priorities. Watch your conversations. They reveal what you tolerate. Watch your inner dialogue. It exposes the limits you've made law. Every single pattern either builds your power or breaks it. And the boldest thing you can do is interrupt the pattern right now before it hardens into personality. Because the longer you wait to change, the deeper the rut becomes. But here's the gift. Your brain is not stone. It's clay. Mold it, train it, shock it with new standards. You are not stuck. You are just rehearsing a role you've outgrown. Ownership means burning the script. It means writing a new identity one action at a time. And this is where most people fail. They try to think their way into a new life. But thought without action is just noise. You have to move. Ownership lives in motion. In the gym when you don't feel like going. In the cold shower when your mind begs for comfort. In the silence when you sit down to create instead of scroll. In the budget when you choose long-term wealth over instant dopamine. In the refusal to let your emotions negotiate your mission. That's where power is forged. In moments that look small to others but echo like thunder across the timeline of your life. Because discipline doesn't scream, it whispers. It's the quiet, daily yes to the person you're becoming, even when the world doesn't applaud. And here's a secret. The more you keep promises to yourself, the louder your confidence becomes. Confidence isn't gifted. It's compounded. Every day you do the hard thing, you collect interest on your self-respect. You start walking different, thinking different, breathing different. Because you're no longer living at the mercy of moods. You are led by mission. This is when ownership transforms into power. When your habits align with your highest vision, when your calendar reflects your calling, not your chaos. When your presence shifts rooms, Not because you try to impress, but because you've done the inner work no one sees. And let's be clear, the work never ends. There is no finish line for ownership. There is only the next level, the next challenge, the next layer of self you must confront, dismantle, and rebuild. You don't arrive, you evolve. You're not chasing perfection, you're chasing alignment. And alignment comes when your decisions match your destiny, not your doubts. But to live there, you must give up the luxury of blaming anything outside of you. No more outsourcing your power to luck. No more waiting on motivation to strike. No more hoping someone else sees your worth before you act like it's real. You go first. You lead the charge. You become the proof. Let others catch up. Because ownership is lonely until it becomes legendary. In the beginning, they won't understand you. They'll mock the routines, question the silence, resist the boundaries. Let them, because later they'll ask you how you did it, and you'll tell them the truth. I stopped lying to myself. I stopped making excuses. I started building no matter how I felt. I stopped waiting, and I decided. That's all it takes. One decision, followed by 1,000 consistent actions. That's how legacies are built. That's how lives are changed. That's how you rise. Not once, but every single day. Because ownership isn't a moment, it's a movement. And now, it's yours to lead. This is the season of reckoning. No more soft landings. No more gentle awakenings. This is the moment you stop dipping your toe in destiny and dive headfirst into who you were meant to be. And it's going to cost you. Yes, it will cost you. It will cost you your excuses. It will cost you your comfort zone. It will cost you the version of yourself addicted to distractions and delayed dreams. But what you gain your power. And that trade is always worth it. You see, people think ownership is about control, but it's not. It's about clarity. Clarity that says, if I don't like where I am, I can change it. If I don't like who I am, I can evolve. If I don't like what I'm getting, I can raise my standard and never again settle for less. This is the moment you step into full alignment. Not the alignment that looks good on a vision board, but the kind that's felt in your bones when you walk through the world with posture, presence, and purpose. The kind of alignment that makes you unshakable. Because the truth is, most people don't need more time. They need more urgency. They don't need more chances. They need more decisions. You don't need more potential. You need more permission. But not from the world, from yourself. Give yourself permission to go all in, to burn the script of mediocrity, to destroy the belief that playing small is humble, to silence the voice that says, not yet, not you, not now. You have played in the shadows long enough. It's time to turn the light on. It's time to break the contract you made with fear. You see, ownership is not just about what you do, it's about what you no longer accept. You no longer accept half-hearted effort, half-built dreams, half-lived lives. You no longer lower your standards to fit someone else's laziness. You no longer pause your purpose to explain yourself to people who will never understand it. You no longer betray your future just to feel safe in your past. This is your line in the sand. This is where the old you dies and the real you rises. And it won't happen with a single choice. It will happen in the consistency of those choices. Every time you say no to distraction, every time you choose presence over passivity, every time you act like the person you want to be, not just the one you've always been. That's how identity shifts, not in theory, but in practice. Your new life begins the moment you decide to stop waiting for it. There is no special day, no perfect signal, no magic email or cosmic tap on the shoulder. There's only this moment, this breath, this decision. So let it be loud. Let it shake something in you. Let it rattle the part of you that's been asleep behind routines, behind regret, behind the rusted bars of your comfort. And rise. Not slowly, not cautiously, but like you remember who you are. Because that's what ownership gives you, remembrance. It reminds you that you are not broken, not behind, not lost. You are becoming, and becoming is messy. Becoming is painful, but becoming is worth it because what's on the other side is not just success, not just progress, but sovereignty. A life that is truly yours, a mission that fuels you, a legacy that echoes. And you become the kind of person who no longer needs to say, one day, because you are already doing it. You are already becoming. You are already owning your story, your strength, your soul. This is your turning point, not a wish, not a hope, a declaration. Ownership full, radical, relentless ownership begins now. And once it begins, it never ends. 2, feed the fire, not the fear. There is a fire inside you. It has no name, no shape, no form. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It waits. It's the part of you that knew before the world told you to doubt, before the voices of limitation crept in and started whispering their hymns of hesitation, before society started rewarding safety over significance, convenience over conviction. That fire, it was there the moment you dared to want something more. The moment you first looked in the mirror and thought, I was meant for more than this routine, more than this silence, more than just getting by. But you forgot. Because the world is very good at making people forget. You were taught to feed your fear instead. They handed you a map, pre-drawn, pre-approved, and said, here, this is the life. Color inside these lines. Play by these rules. And maybe you'll make it. But you didn't come here to survive. You came here to burn, to set your path on fire with purpose, to ignite potential so bright it blinds your past. But fear is patient. It doesn't need to defeat you all at once. It just needs to make you doubt in small doses. One hesitation, one delayed dream, one ignored instinct. And before you know it, the fire dims. And you start building a life that looks like everyone else is safe, quiet, convenient, and slowly dying. Let me tell you something nobody else will. Fear only has the power you lend it. And every moment you hesitate, you feed it. Every moment you listen to that voice that says, wait, play small, blend in, you're tossing logs on its fire. But there's another way. You can feed the fire instead. And feeding the fire means choosing discomfort over denial, truth over tradition, vision over validation. It means staring into the mirror and saying, I am not a product of my past. I am a force being forged in it. You don't need to be fearless to act. You need to be faithful to that fire inside you. Because here's the truth. The ones who win, the ones who break free, the ones who rise, they didn't wait for the fear to go away. They just stopped feeding it. They chose to build. You see, belief is not a feeling. It's a discipline. It's the daily decision to bet on yourself, even when the odds don't. Belief doesn't start loud. It starts in whispers, the quiet kind of courage that says, get up again. The silent vow that says, I don't care how long it takes, I will not die like this. Because when you feed the fire of belief, something wild happens. You start moving differently. You stop asking for permission to become. You stop checking if you're ready. Let me be clear. Readiness is a lie. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to decide you're done waiting. People ask, how do I become confident? How do I believe in myself? Here's how. You do the thing while you're still shaking. You show up when it's easier to shut down. You write the page when your mind says nobody will care. You make the call when your heart says you're not good enough. That's belief. That's the fire, not the feeling, the furnace that keeps going. And every time you choose belief over fear, the fire gets stronger. It becomes louder than your doubt, brighter than your shadows, stronger than your story. But belief without clarity is just noise. So let's talk about clarity. Clarity is not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. What do I really want? Who am I becoming? What am I no longer available for? Most people don't get what they want because they never define it. They're vague, blurry, reactionary. They don't live, they respond. They drift through jobs, relationships, routines, hoping life will hand them meaning like a lottery ticket. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from declaring. Declare your direction. Even if the road isn't clear, light the torch anyway. Clarity isn't about having guarantees. It's about having the guts to say, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. And nothing behind me is worth returning to. And when you have clarity, discipline becomes purpose-driven. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about focusing yourself. Discipline is the language of fire. You want to know what separates the exceptional from the average? It's not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's consistency. It's the boring, relentless, invisible work that nobody sees but everybody feels later. It's choosing the hard conversation over the silent resentment. Choosing the workout over the excuse. Choosing one more rep, one more call, one more try when no one's watching. Because the fire grows in the dark. Discipline is the decision to not negotiate with your lesser self, to not make excuses just because your emotions are loud, to live by commitment, not convenience. That's how you feed the fire. That's how you silence the fear. You don't have to win every day, but you must refuse to surrender the day. And that comes down to one thing: vision. A life without vision is a life on repeat. If you don't design your future, you'll default to your past. So close your eyes and ask yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped playing defense? If I stopped reacting and started architecting? Build it in your mind first. Build it so vividly that your current life starts to feel like a betrayal. See the version of you who doesn't apologize for taking up space. See the business, the health, the love, the peace, and not as fantasies, but as inevitabilities waiting for you to become the person who claims them. Vision isn't daydreaming. Vision is the blueprint that the fire builds upon. But a vision without action is just a fantasy. So act. Don't wait until you're inspired. That's feeding fear. Act to create inspiration. That's feeding fire. The moment you move, even in confusion, even in chaos, clarity rushes in. The path reveals itself through movement, not meditation. Action is your loudest vote for the life you want. So don't just plan. Don't just think. Don't just dream. Build. And while you're building, don't forget gratitude. Gratitude is not passive. It's not about saying thank you for the crumbs. It's about declaring, I see the fire. I see the work. I see how far I've come, even if no one else does. Gratitude is fuel. It's the defiance of the victim mindset. It says, I am not broken. I am becoming. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where your next choice begins. And every time you choose to see your life as your responsibility, not your punishment, the fire grows. So choose growth, choose healing, choose forward, choose now. Because your fear will never run out of reasons, but your fire will never run out of power if you keep feeding it. The world will try to convince you that fear is wisdom, that hesitation is maturity, that restraint is virtue. But that's not wisdom, that's domestication. That's what happens when people stop living and start managing their dreams, managing their emotions, managing their truth until it's small enough to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You weren't born to be managed. You were born to rise. Let me say this again. You were born to rise. There is a part of you that is still untouched by failure, still unstained by rejection, still untouched by the weight of the world's opinions. That part is fire. And it doesn't need fixing. It needs fuel. It needs you to stop arguing for your limitations. Stop justifying your procrastination. Stop convincing yourself that maybe someday life will finally give you permission to go all in. No, life won't give you permission. You take it. You look at the fear and say, I see you. I feel you, but you don't own me anymore. Fear is loud, but it's lazy. It replays the same arguments, the same what ifs, the same ghost stories dressed in logic. But the fire, it doesn't argue. It builds. It turns every doubt into fuel, every setback into raw material, every insult into architecture. People will say, "You've changed." Let them. They're not supposed to recognize you when you start feeding your fire. You weren't put on this earth to be understood. You were put here to understand yourself and live accordingly. You want to break through? Then stop needing to be liked more than you need to be free. People-pleasing is fear wearing a smile. It's the fear of rejection disguised as kindness. And it's the fastest way to betray your own fire. Because you can't be fully lit and fully liked at the same time. When you feed the fire, you become a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable, especially those who have spent years avoiding their own reflection. Don't shrink so they can stay small. Don't dim so they feel less insecure. Don't pause your progress so their comfort can remain unchallenged. There is nothing noble about staying in places that no longer honor your becoming. That's not loyalty. That's fear. And every time you silence your truth to protect someone else's illusion, the fire suffers. But every time you speak, not to argue, not to defend, but to declare, the fire rises. And when it rises, it starts to cleanse. You begin to burn away the lies you told yourself to survive, the false identities you wore to be accepted, the masks, the roles, the fake smiles, the empty conversations. You start telling the truth, even when your voice shakes, even when it costs you comfort, even when it leaves you alone. Because fire doesn't need a crowd. It needs oxygen space, honesty, integrity. Feed it that, and it will show you who you've been all along. Let's talk about resilience. Because the fire is not just for growth, it's for the storms. People think strength means never falling, never doubting, never breaking. Wrong. Strength is the ability to come back, to rebuild from ashes, to look at the wreckage and say, "Good, now I can start fresh." That's what resilience is. It's not pretty, it's not poetic, it's often brutal, messy, raw, but it's real. Resilience is the ability to feel the weight and keep walking, to carry your grief, your fear, your regret, and still show up with purpose. The fire is your forge, and life will test you. You will lose people. You will lose things you thought you couldn't live without. You will fail. You will cry. You will want to quit. And in those moments, those quiet, hollow moments when no one is watching, you will be tempted to feed the fear again. Don't. Don't give the fear your pain. Don't let it turn your heartbreak into self-hate. Don't let it weaponize your past. Instead, throw it into the fire. Let it burn. Let it burn so the phoenix in you can rise. Because every time you get back up, you're teaching your soul something sacred. I am not here to be spared. I am here to be sculpted. Adaptability is another way the fire feeds itself. You want to thrive? Learn to bend without breaking, to shift without losing your center. Adaptability doesn't mean changing who you are. It means protecting who you are by evolving your approach. It's knowing when to pivot, when to persevere, and when to walk away entirely, not from fear, but from wisdom. The world changes fast. Technology changes. Markets change. People change. The question isn't, can I keep up? The question is, can I keep becoming? The fire never stops becoming. It doesn't cling to form. It dances. It flows. It becomes what it must to keep burning. So must you. Let go of your attachment to how you thought it was supposed to go. Stop mourning the plan. Start trusting the becoming. Because it's in the breakdowns that breakthroughs are born. It's in the detours where destiny waits. It's in the chaos that the fire finds its form. Feed it with flexibility, with the courage to say, this is not what I expected, but it's exactly what I need to grow. That's how you lead yourself. And that's what most people miss, self-leadership. You don't need more motivation. You need mastery. The fire inside you is wild. But mastery is how you direct it. Mastery over your mind. Mastery over your words. Mastery over your focus. Because you can't conquer the world if you can't command your own thoughts. Most people don't fail because of lack of talent. They fail because of mental clutter. Too many open tabs in the mind. Too many opinions, too many unresolved emotions. Too much noise. You want clarity? Silence the distractions. You want impact? Discipline your attention. You want transformation? Build systems, not wishes. The fire needs a structure to thrive. You must design your days like they matter because they do. Wake up with purpose. Move with intention. Build rituals, not reactions. Create a standard that the world must rise to if it wants to be part of your life. Don't just drift. Direct. And if you lose control for a day, fine. Just don't stay lost. Come back. Always come back. That's mastery, not perfection, but the return to alignment. Feed the fire. Come back. Feed it again. Come back stronger. Because the more you feed it, the more it feeds you. And here's the most powerful truth of all. The fire inside you does not judge your past. It doesn't care how many times you failed. It doesn't care what you should have done. It doesn't care how long you stayed small, how long you played afraid, how long you silenced your voice to fit in with people who were never meant to understand you. It only asks one thing. Will you burn now? Not yesterday. Not someday. Now. Because now is the only place the fire lives. Not in your regrets, not in your fantasies, not in your plans, but in your decisions right here, right now. You want to change your life? You don't need 10 more years. You need 10 seconds of truth. 10 seconds to stand up and say, enough. Enough hiding. Enough shrinking. Enough explaining your fire to people who are addicted to their fear. Enough lying to yourself about what you're capable of. You don't need more time. You need more truth. Because your next level doesn't require a new version of the world. It requires a new version of you. A version who leads with conviction, who walks with certainty, who no longer asks, what will they think? But instead declares, what do I think? What do I know? What do I choose? That's what the fire wants, your choice. Because every single day you are choosing to feed the fire or the fear, choosing to stay loyal to your dreams or your doubts, choosing to live fully or exist quietly. And if you don't choose consciously, your fear will choose for you. It will choose the job you hate, the relationship that drains you, the habits that numb you, the identity that plays small. But when you choose with fire, you don't just live, you ignite. You inspire. You move. You burn through the noise and give people permission to do the same. Because your fire is not just for you. It's for everyone you will lead, love, lift, and liberate just by living out loud. And let's be honest, fear is never going away. It's not a one-time battle. It's a daily duel. But here's the good news. You get stronger. Every time you show up anyway, you build muscle. Every time you move forward, despite the voice that says, you can't, you train your mind to trust your soul. Fear is the alarm. Fire is the response. And the fire doesn't wait for silence to act. It speaks in the middle of the noise. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about being so rooted in your truth, so obsessed with your growth, so dialed into your purpose that fear becomes background static, always there, but never in control. And the only way to reach that state is by doing it afraid, by walking forward when your legs are shaking, by building the dream when the critics are screaming, by believing anyway. And one day you'll look around at the life you built, the habits, the boundaries, the joy, the freedom, and realize this wasn't luck. This was fire-fed discipline. This was you refusing to surrender. And you must protect it, this fire. You must guard your inputs. What you consume becomes what you create. What you hear becomes what you repeat. What you tolerate becomes what you live. So be ruthless with your environment. Audit the voices you allow. Remove the noise that feeds fear, the drama, the distraction, the dysfunction. Curate a life that feeds growth. Books that stretch your mind. conversations that stir your spirit, environments that challenge your comfort, people who reflect your becoming, not your past. This isn't selfish, it's strategic. Because if you want to build an extraordinary life, you cannot afford ordinary influences. You need fire starters, people who light up when you dream bigger, people who don't flinch when you raise your standards, people who remind you of your power, not your past. And if you don't have them yet, become one. Become the fire that others feel. Walk so boldly in your truth that you light torches in everyone you meet. That's how we shift the world. Not with permission, but with presence. And never forget this. There will come a moment when no one claps for you. No one validates your progress. No one sees the work behind the scenes. That's the moment most people quit. Because they were chasing applause, not alignment. But not you. You're not here for approval. You're here for ascension. You're not here to be seen. You're here to see yourself clearly. To look in the mirror and say, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. And this is where I'm going, no matter how long it takes. That's real power. Not volume, not bravado, but quiet, relentless, unshakable power. And that power doesn't show up all at once. It grows. It compounds. It deepens every time you keep your promise to yourself. Every time you say, I'll do it, and you actually do. That's what feeds the fire more than anything else. Self-trust. Because when you trust yourself, fear can scream all it wants, but it won't matter. You'll already be moving. You'll already be building. You'll already be becoming. And that's the goal. Not perfection, not applause, but progress born in fire, raised in truth, carried forward by a will that refuses to die. So let the world call you intense. Let them say you've changed. Let them gossip, criticize, doubt, mock. They're watching from the stands. You're walking through the fire. And one day they'll ask how you did it, how you rose, how you kept going, how you built something so rare, so powerful, so undeniable, while they stayed silent, comfortable, safe. And you'll look them in the eye with no anger, no ego, and simply say, I fed the fire. I stopped feeding the fear. And now we arrive at the edge of everything. The moment where the old version of you dies, not in violence, not in shame, but in surrender. The version of you that waited dies here. The one that feared rejection, feared failure, feared being too much, burns here. The one that played small to be accepted is done. You are not here to rehearse your power. You are here to release it. You were never meant to tiptoe toward greatness. You were meant to leap not because the path is clear, but because your soul is ready. And you know it is. Because something inside you is stirring now. Something ancient. Something raw. Something real. The fire. The same fire that built empires, wrote revolutions, carved mountains, conquered oceans. The same fire that burned in every soul who ever said, enough, I was made for more. It lives in you. But here's the catch. It will not wait forever. You must claim it. You must choose it again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's lonely, even when it costs you everything safe and familiar. That's the price of transformation. Safety must die for significance to live. Comfort must be buried for conviction to rise. And if you're still asking, is it worth it? Then you haven't seen who you're becoming yet. Because when you finally taste freedom, real, soul-level freedom, you'll never settle for anything less again. You'll stop negotiating with your old self. You'll stop watering down your truth just to keep peace with people who are terrified of their own potential. You'll stop trying to be understood by those who were never meant to walk with you beyond this chapter. This is your threshold, not a decision, a declaration. The day you stop explaining, the day you stop apologizing, the day you stop hiding your hunger, and you say out loud, let them misunderstand me, let them label me, let them leave. I will still burn, and you will. You'll burn through the excuses, through the noise, through the limits, through the need to be liked, to be perfect, to be approved. And on the other side of that burn, you'll find something no one can take from you. You're becoming, not a title, not a result, not a possession, but a state of existence that no loss, no failure, no opinion can steal. Because once you feed the fire long enough, you become the fire. You become the presence that silences doubt. You become the energy that awakens courage in others. You become the storm that no longer needs thunder, just truth. And you'll move through the world differently. Not chasing, creating. Not proving, embodying. Not waiting, leading. You'll look back at the version of you who once begged for validation and whisper, "Thank you for surviving, but I've got it from here." And forward you will walk with war in your eyes and peace in your chest. You'll no longer fear losing people who can't hold your fire. You'll bless them and keep building. You'll no longer beg to be seen. You'll see yourself, and that will be enough. You'll no longer ask, "Who am I to want this much?" You'll say, "Who was I to settle for so little?" This is who you are, not who you hope to be, not who you were told to be, not who the world needs you to be to feel safe. This is who you've always been underneath the fear, a flame with a voice. And now you speak. Now you rise. Now you build the life that fear said you couldn't. Not by force, but by fire. Not for them, for you. Because you're done dimming. You're done asking. You're done waiting. And from this moment on, you feed only the fire. Not the fear. Never again the fear, only the fire. Always the fire. Now go and make them feel the heat of a life fully claimed. 3, craft a vision that terrifies and excites you. You are not here to play small. You are not here to tiptoe through life, fitting neatly into boxes someone else built. You are not here to numb your hunger with distractions, to silence your potential with comfort, or to spend your days decorating a life you secretly want to escape. You are here to build something so real, so raw, so true, that it electrifies you every time you speak it aloud. You are here to craft a vision so massive it terrifies you, and so alive it won't let you sleep. Because if your vision doesn't scare you, it's not worthy of you. If your dreams don't make your heart race with both fear and fire, then they are too small for the power you hold. And that's the problem. Most people shrink their vision to match their current courage. They edit their dreams to avoid discomfort. They ask for permission before claiming their possibility. But here's the truth. You will never build an extraordinary life by avoiding fear. You build it by walking through fear, by expanding into it again and again. The fear is not the enemy, it's the signal. It's the alarm clock telling you that the edge of your comfort zone is right here, right now. You don't get to wait until you're confident. You don't get to wait until you feel ready. You create confidence by showing up. You create readiness by building momentum. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards proof. And proof comes from movement. So craft that vision, not a safe one, not a realistic one, a vision so big it demands a new version of you. A vision that humbles you, that haunts you, that makes you sit in silence some nights and whisper, "Can I really become the kind of person who can hold all of this?" Yes. Yes, you can. But first, you must decide. Mindset is the gatekeeper of vision. Before you build the empire, you must build the mind that can house it. The strongest prison is not made of steel, it's made of thoughts. And the sad truth? Most people are walking free in the world but are trapped behind the invisible bars of their own limiting beliefs. They don't need chains. Their doubts are enough. Who am I to dream that big? What if I fail? What will they think? Let me tell you what they never told you in school. Your mind will either be your master or your servant. There is no neutral. The quality of your thoughts becomes the quality of your life. Period. You can't build a mansion with the blueprint of a shack. And you can't build a bold life with a fearful mind. So train your thoughts. Feed them deliberately. Starve the ones that sabotage. Challenge every belief that starts with I can't, I'm not ready, or it's too late. Ask yourself, who gave me this belief? Who benefits from me staying small? You'll realize quickly, it's never been you. You were not born with fear of success. That was taught. You were not born with scarcity. That was modeled. You were not born unworthy. That was inherited, handed down like a broken heirloom. But you get to break the cycle. You get to rewire the story. You get to replace the lies with laws of personal power. And here is one. You become what you repeat. So repeat this. My vision is bigger than my fear. My future is louder than my past. My voice is stronger than their opinions. Say it again and again until your cells believe it, until your actions reflect it, until the world adapts to it. And now comes belief. Not the kind you post online, the kind that hurts to hold, the kind you build quietly, one step, one rep, one promise at a time. Belief isn't a mood. It's not a vibe. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every time you keep going when quitting looks easier, your belief grows. Every time you stay on the path when everyone else is bailing, your belief sharpens. Every time you show up, despite fear, despite fatigue, despite being misunderstood, your belief cements. It's not about waiting for the world to believe in you. That's backward. That's poverty thinking. You lead with belief and the world follows with evidence. Most people reverse it. They say, when I have the results, then I'll believe. But champions say, when I believe, I will create the results. Your belief is your invitation to the future. Without it, no door opens. With it, every door eventually cracks. And here's the kicker. You don't need to believe in the whole journey. You just need to believe in the next bold step. Take it, then the next one. That's how giants are built on, courageous inch at a time. Clarity is your next step. Because belief without direction is like fire without wood. It burns bright, but dies fast. You must define your vision, not in vague terms, not in cute Pinterest quotes, in detail. What does your dream day look like? What do you wake up excited to do? What does your energy feel like in that life? What do you no longer tolerate? Clarity isn't about knowing the how. It's about committing to the what and why. Don't worry about how you'll get there. That part is fluid. But get specific about where there even is. Because the universe doesn't respond to confusion, it responds to conviction. Most people drift. They don't design. They react. They don't architect. And then they wonder why life feels meaningless, like they're on someone else's path. Here's the harsh truth. If you don't write the script, someone else will hand you one. So write it. Build it. Craft your vision with such intensity that the world has no choice but to shift around it. Because vision is power. It is magnetic. It pulls people, resources, opportunities toward you. But only when you're clear. Only when you say, this is what I'm building. This is who I'm becoming. This is what I will no longer settle for. And mean it. Say it so loud the fear begins to tremble. Say it so clearly the old version of you starts to grieve. Say it so confidently the next version of you starts packing her bags ready to arrive. Now that you've claimed the vision, you must own the cost. Every dream you chase comes with a toll. Every life of greatness comes with a tax the average are unwilling to pay. You don't get a bold life at clearance prices. You want the freedom, the wealth, the purpose, the fire? Then you must embrace the sacrifice. You must become disciplined. Not just when it's easy, not just when you're in the mood, but especially when it's inconvenient, when it hurts, when no one claps, when no one sees. Discipline is doing it anyway. Discipline is your respect for the vision you've crafted. It's not punishment, it's devotion. When you become disciplined, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking your feelings for permission. You don't ask your doubt, are we ready? You tell your doubt, we're moving. Because every undisciplined moment is a betrayal of your future self. You can't expect to live like a lion if you train like a kitten. You want to be rare? You want to be remembered? Then act like it. Think like it. Build like it. Wake up when it's dark. Work when it's uncomfortable. Practice when others are scrolling. Study when others are partying. Speak the truth when others stay silent. That's how legends are made. And no, it won't always be balanced. It won't always feel good. But vision is not about balance, it's about alignment. When you are aligned with your purpose, you don't need hype. You need habits. You need routines so sacred they become non-negotiable. You don't try to be great. You become great through repetition, through resilience, through ritual. Because 1 hour of undistracted discipline beats a month of wishful thinking. And one decision can shift your entire destiny. So decide. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Action is the voice of your vision. You can meditate. You can journal. You can visualize. But until you move, you're still pretending. Action is how the dream materializes. Not thoughts, not prayers, not vision boards. Execution. You act, you fail, you adjust, you repeat. That's the rhythm. That's the recipe. People will spend years preparing, studying, planning because it feels productive. But it's safe. It's sterile. It's fear in disguise. At some point, you must leave the whiteboard and walk into the arena. Action is how you speak to life. Action is how you build belief. Action is how you turn someday into this day. Even the smallest step matters. A single, honest conversation. A new boundary. A broken habit. A brave decision. It's all movement. And movement changes momentum. If you feel stuck, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've paused too long. So start again. The fire isn't dead, it's waiting for oxygen. Breathe it. Move. Risk. Leap. Even if it's messy. Even if it's slow. Even if you're trembling. Because perfection is a liar, and fear is a con artist. They sell you the illusion of safety, but steal your aliveness in return. You don't need perfect. You need proof. Prove to yourself today that you are becoming. That's it. And as you move, never forget this truth. Gratitude is not the opposite of ambition. It's the fuel for it. Too many people think they must choose between being hungry for more and being grateful for what is. But the greats know gratitude is the ground. When you are grateful, you become powerful. Because now, you're not building from lack. You're building from love. Not, I need this to feel worthy, but I'm already worthy, and now I build because it's who I am. Gratitude is not passive. It's protective. It keeps your ego in check. It keeps your spirit lifted. It keeps you from becoming addicted to outcomes and applause. Because without gratitude, success becomes a trap, a prison with golden walls. But with gratitude, success becomes service. Now you're not just chasing results, you're creating impact. You're transforming others just by becoming who you were always meant to be. So pause, feel it, see it. Look at what you've survived. Look at how many times you could have given up. Look at how many battles you fought in silence and still came back swinging. That's fire. That's power. Honor it and say thank you, not because it's over, but because it's only beginning. Adaptability is your next edge because your vision will evolve. It will twist, expand, challenge you. It will grow as you grow. Don't resist that. Welcome it. You must be flexible in path, but rigid in purpose. That means the goal stays sacred, but how you get there, that's allowed to change. Maybe the plan fails. Maybe the timing shifts. Maybe the people you started with can't walk the next mile. That's okay. You are not failing. You are refining. You are shedding old strategies to meet a newer self. This is evolution in motion. Don't mourn what's leaving. Bless it and keep building. Life rewards those who don't panic in transition. The fire doesn't die In the storm, it adjusts. It leans. It learns. It moves. And so will you. Because nothing will stop the one who keeps adjusting. Not the failure. Not the critics. Not the delay. Not even doubt. Adaptability means you are fluid, not fragile. You bend, you don't break. You expand, you don't explode. You respond, you don't retreat. That's what separates the builders from the dreamers. Dreamers wait for ideal conditions. Builders adapt and act. Which one are you? And now we speak of resilience, the fireproof core of everything. Because no matter how bold your vision, life will punch back. No matter how prepared you feel, you will get knocked down. And when you do, the world will watch not how you fall, but how you rise. Resilience is the muscle you don't know you have until the storm comes. It's not built in comfort. It's not built on good days with smooth schedules and supportive applause. It's built in the dark. It's built in the silence when you've given everything and there's nothing left but your own breath and your own resolve. It's built in those brutal mornings when your heart is heavy and your mind is loud, but you show up anyway. Resilience is when your vision becomes stronger than your excuses. It's when the goal matters more than the gossip. It's when your reason is louder than your resistance. The weak wait for motivation. The resilient manufacture it. They make fuel from rejection. They turn every no into a new form of leverage. They take pain and translate it into progress. They don't crumble. They convert. This is the warrior's way. You don't avoid the battle. You prepare for it. And if you've already tasted failure good, that means you've been in the game. That means you've been struck and you're still standing. Most people never even show up to their own lives. They want guarantees. You give grit. They want applause. You bring artillery. They want comfort. You are building character. Don't ask for it to be easier. Ask for the strength to endure. You don't need a smooth path. You need unshakable roots. And those roots, they're watered by learning. Because learning is the lever that multiplies everything. You can hustle all day, but without wisdom, you'll burn out in circles. You can take action every hour, but without awareness, you'll climb the wrong mountain. Smart work beats hard work when it's fed by insight. So become a student of the process. Study yourself. Study your failures. Study your patterns, your triggers, your language, your self-sabotage. Because your external results will never outgrow your internal operating system. Don't just consume information. Integrate it. Take the notes. Reflect. Rethink. Ask better questions. What am I not seeing? What belief still needs burning? What part of me is trying to survive when I'm here to lead? That's the next level. Learning is the shortcut that most ignore. They think action alone is enough. It isn't. You must grow deeper, not just louder. Wiser, not just faster. Aligned, not just ambitious. And from that place, that grounded, humbled, elevated place, you start to see something remarkable. Your vision is catching up to you, and you're ready for the final climb. So now we end where all greatness begins, with a choice, not a feeling, not a wish, not a someday, but a choice made in fire, held in fire, carried through fire. The choice to craft a vision that terrifies and excites you. The kind that strips away every false identity. The kind that demands your full strength and gives you full peace in return. The kind that wakes you up at 4 a.m., not in anxiety, but in awe. Because suddenly you realize you are not chasing a dream. You are building a legacy. You are not asking for permission. You are writing your own laws. You are not playing not to lose. You are playing to ignite. And you know this to be true. There is no plan B because there is no other version of you that you are willing to accept. You are done playing roles. You are done performing smallness. You are done whispering your wants like apologies. From this moment forward, your vision becomes your standard. Not your goal, not your dream, your standard. You will not dim to make others comfortable. You will not stall just because fear shows up. You will not shrink because the mountain is high. You will rise because the fire demands it. And in the quiet hours when the world is asleep, when the doubt creeps in, when you're tempted to retreat, you'll remember, you built this. You chose this. You forged this vision in the furnace of your own mind, and no one can take it from you. Not time, not failure, not opinion, because this vision, it's not an idea. It's a command, a sacred pull from the future version of you who already knows what you're capable of and is begging you to stop waiting. So listen, step, move, build, not someday, now, not maybe, absolutely, not halfway, all in, because your future is not waiting. It's watching, and it's asking one final question. Will you be the one who fed the fear and faded, or the one who fed the fire and finished the vision? Choose, build, and let them feel the power of someone who refused to die with their dreams still inside them. That is the life you came here to live. That is the voice you were meant to speak with. That is the fire you were born to carry. And now you carry it forward, unstoppable, unshaken, undeniably alive. And when you walk with fire, you walk alone at first. Because vision isolates before it elevates. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will applaud your discipline. Not everyone will support a version of you that reminds them of everything they haven't become. That's the hidden cost of greatness. Loneliness is part of the currency. But here's what they don't tell you. The path clears after the leap. The support arrives after the stand. The alignment shows up after the risk. Because when you craft a vision that terrifies and excites you, it forces you to leave the world you know. It demands you cut ties with comfort. It requires you to step into exile from the life you've outgrown. And in that exile, when it's just you, the silence and the fire, you will meet your real self. Not the mask, not the brand, not the survivor, but the creator, the one who doesn't flinch when people leave, the one who doesn't tremble when the plan changes, the one who doesn't ask for a sign, because they are the sign. And from that version of you, the world begins to realign. The people who feared your growth fall away. The ones who were meant to run with you appear not to save you, but to build beside you. But only after you go first. Only after you dare to be misunderstood. Only after you're willing to be seen as intense, obsessed, too ambitious. Because you're not here to fit in, you're here to redefine what's possible. And to do that, you must leave the noise and build the signal. Every movement that ever changed history started with one person who refused to wait. One person who looked at the mountain and said, move. One person who stood up in a room full of silence and said, there's more. One person who heard their fear say, you're not ready, and responded, watch me. You are that person. You are that movement. You are that voice. You are the walking answer to the prayers you used to whisper in the dark. And now it's time to become it. Not halfway, not hesitantly, but fully. Because if you can see the vision in your mind, it means the seed has already been planted in your spirit. And your only job now is to tend the fire, not doubt it, not delay it. Feed it every day with truth, with action, with integrity, with presence, with power. Feed it when it's easy. Feed it when it's brutal. Feed it when no one believes, when no one sees, when no one claps. Because you are no longer here for the crowd. You are here for the calling. And a calling doesn't care about your schedule. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your fear. It cares that you show up, that you keep walking, that you keep becoming, that you do not stop. And let's be crystal clear. You were never meant to build a vision that fit inside someone else's blueprint. You were meant to create what's never been done. You were meant to lead with original fire. You were meant to scare small minds with your bigness, your clarity, your energy, your presence. And if your vision is so massive that it makes you question your sanity, good. You're not delusional. You're early. History is written by the unreasonable, the ones who didn't wait for approval, the ones who didn't need a committee, the ones who dared to believe that their life could be art, their voice could be truth, their choices could create waves generations feel. You are one of them if you decide to be. Because identity is a decision, not a birthright, not a label, not a limit. A decision. You decide who you become. Not your past, not your parents, not your pain. You. And once you decide, with your full chest, with your full soul, life begins to move. People call it luck, but it's not. It's the collision of clarity and courage. It's what happens when a soul becomes non-negotiable. It's what happens when someone stops talking like a prisoner and starts acting like a creator. That someone is you. And it starts now. So here's your charge. Craft the vision. Declare it aloud. Stand by it when it's mocked, when it's doubted, when it's tested. Build it brick by unseen brick, step by unseen step. Don't wait to be ready. Don't wait to be validated. Don't wait for someone to rescue you from your own potential. That's not coming. You are the answer. You are the builder, the architect, the fuel, the fire. And when the world finally asks, how did you create this life? You'll say, I crafted a vision that terrified and excited me, and I never let it die. Because I was no longer interested in being liked. I was committed to being lit. Lit with purpose. Lit with clarity. Lit with a fire no fear could extinguish. That is the life. That is the legacy. That is the mark of the one who builds what they see and becomes what they must. Now go build it and make it so big, so beautiful, so undeniable that your old self wouldn't even recognize the person you've become, because that person was born the day you stopped waiting and started creating. 4, build habits that serve the future you. There is a version of you that already exists, not in some far-off fantasy, not in a dream, but in potential and blueprint, waiting on the other side of your discipline. This version of you has more peace, more power, more clarity. They speak differently. They move with purpose. They don't react, they respond. They don't chase, they create. They aren't overwhelmed. They are organized by fire. But you will never meet that version of you by accident. You meet them through habits. You meet them through the small, daily, almost invisible decisions that most people dismiss. Success is not found in the big moments, it's forged in the microscopic, the ordinary, the unsexy, the repeatable. That's the secret the world doesn't glorify. They want you to look at the mansion, the brand, the body, the spotlight, but they don't want to tell you that all of that was built from reps. The future version of you isn't asking for miracles. They're asking for momentum. And the bridge between where you are and where you're going is this. Build habits that serve the future you. Habits that demand respect. Habits that burn excuses. Habits that rewrite your identity. Habits that make success inevitable, not optional. Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your habits. So let's begin where it always begins. Your mindset. Because habits are not just what you do. They're what you believe you deserve. If your mindset is broken, your habits will always sabotage your future. You can't build like a king if you still think like a victim. You can't act like a visionary if you still identify as someone who always quits, never finishes, has no discipline. That internal dialogue, it's not harmless. It's programming. It's the script that runs the system. And most people never change their lives because they never change their script. They try to act like a new person while dragging the same story behind them. But nothing sticks long term unless the identity shifts. So stop trying to force habits from a foundation of self-hate. Stop punishing yourself into change. You don't build sustainable habits from shame. You build them from vision. Habits become automatic when they are aligned with who you believe you are. So decide. Are you someone who's always late or someone who respects time? Are you someone who tries to be healthy or someone who honors their body like a temple? Are you someone who says, I want to change, or someone who has already decided that they are not available for the old life anymore? That's the level. No softness, no coddling. Change the story. Change the standard. Then habits follow like soldiers to a command. And from that new identity comes your first act of war, clarity. You cannot build habits that serve the future you if you don't know who the future you is. What do they do differently? How do they spend their mornings? What do they refuse to tolerate? What do they prioritize when everything feels urgent? Because habits are a function of focus. And focus without clarity is just noise with good intentions. Write it down. All of it. What does your most elite, grounded, powerful self do daily? Not when it's convenient. Not when the stars align. Daily. That version of you has systems, not scattered effort. They have rhythm, not random hustle. They don't hope, they design. And design is the death of chaos. Clarity kills confusion. Clarity creates flow. Clarity makes the hard decisions obvious. So every habit you build must answer one question. Does this serve the future I've chosen or the past I've outgrown? Every single thing, from how you wake up to what you consume to who you keep around you. It all becomes clear when your vision is. Now you need the cornerstone, discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's protection. It protects your energy, your time, your mind. Discipline is saying no when your fear says maybe. Discipline is walking away when your old self begs you to settle. Discipline is the most loving thing you can give to your future. Because discipline says, I'm not here to make you comfortable, I'm here to make you capable. And that means building habits that are non-negotiable. No more if I feel like it. No more if I have time. You don't try to brush your teeth. You don't feel motivated to lock your doors at night. You just do it because it's who you are. Your highest habits must become like that. You wake up, you move, you journal, you hydrate, you execute, you protect your priorities like they're sacred because they are. That's the level where habits become character. You don't need motivation, you need to recode your standard. Because discipline isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. And the person who wins is not the person who does everything, it's the person who does the right things daily, without debate. Then comes the action. This is where 99% of people stall. They build the plan. They read the books. They buy the gear. But they never act. Because acting means risking. Acting means committing. Acting means killing off the version of you that survives off theory and building the one who executes reality. So execute. Even if it's messy, even if it's half-baked, even if you don't know step 5, start step 1. Because the future you, the one with peace in their chest and power in their voice, they're not waiting for you to be perfect. They're waiting for you to begin. And habits are built in motion, not in meditation. Want to be a reader? Open a book now. Want to be fit? Do 1 push-up now. Want to write the book? Launch the brand? Build the business? Write the first ugly paragraph. Launch the first imperfect product. Make the first awkward video. No one builds strong habits from hesitation. You build them from decisive repetition. And every time you act, you're casting a vote for the future. Every rep, every choice, every step. This is the compound effect in motion. And it doesn't care about your feelings. It rewards commitment. And as you act, as you repeat, as you build this rhythm brick by brick, remember this. Gratitude is your grounding wire. It's what keeps you centered when the pressure builds. It's what reminds you that growth is a gift, not a punishment. It's the voice that says, look how far you've come, even while you're reaching for more. Because Without gratitude, your habits become slavery. You'll build routines, but resent them. You'll chase growth, but never feel full. You'll measure progress only by what's missing, instead of what's already miraculous. But with gratitude, every rep becomes sacred. Every small win becomes proof. Every early morning, every clean meal, every hard decision becomes a celebration, not a chore. Gratitude doesn't mean you're done. It means you recognize the value of the process. It's how you train your nervous system to love the becoming, not just the achievement. And when you live like that, when you start and end your day with thankfulness, your habits don't just build results. They build joy. And joy is a frequency that future you lives in every day. Build your habits from that energy, not from fear, not from scarcity, not from comparison, but from reverence. Because what you repeat with love becomes limitless. But love alone won't save you. You'll need to be adaptable, because no matter how dialed in your system is, life will test it. Your routine will be interrupted. Your schedule will collapse. Your energy will dip. And you'll be tempted to say, well, I'll start again when things calm down. But things don't calm down. You rise through the chaos, or you get buried under it. The habits that serve your future self are flexible, not fragile. Adaptability means this: even if I can't do everything, I will still do something. If you miss the gym, you stretch at home. If you can't journal for an hour, you write 3 lines that ground your soul. If your schedule explodes, you carve out 5 minutes and say, this moment is mine. That's the discipline within the discipline. It's not about never falling. It's about never staying down. It's about knowing that progress isn't lost just because a plan changed. Because the highest performers in the world are not the most perfect, they're the most relentless. They don't rebuild every time life shakes the table. They adjust their grip and keep climbing. That's how you earn mastery. By staying engaged, not enslaved. Your habits serve your future, not your ego. So give yourself grace, but never give yourself an exit. And when life punches harder, because it will, you must call on your resilience. This is where most people quit. They confuse a delay with a denial. They think discomfort means this isn't for me. They interpret fatigue as failure. But here's the truth. Your dream will break you open before it builds you up. It will strip you down to your essentials. It will pull out every excuse, every weakness, every lie you've told yourself to survive. And then if you keep going, it will rebuild you as someone who no longer negotiates with the old self. Resilience is what separates the ambitious from the aligned, because aligned people don't need permission to keep going. They've already signed the contract with their soul. So when the day feels impossible, they show up anyway. When the doubt screams loud, they whisper louder. When no one claps, when nothing feels like it's moving, when every door is locked, they don't stop. They become the door. This is what makes your habits unbreakable, not because they're easy, but because you've decided nothing else is acceptable. And the future you? They exist because this version of you didn't quit. They exist because you kept swinging in the dark. They exist because you chose consistency over chaos. They exist because you knew it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. And finally, never stop being a student. Because mastery isn't a destination. It's a lifestyle. You build habits that serve the future you, and then the future you evolves. So stay curious, stay humble, stay hungry, read, reflect, reassess. Ask yourself, what's working? What's outdated? Where am I coasting? Where am I still building from insecurity and calling it discipline? The future will always reveal more layers of who you can become. Your job is to keep stepping into them. That means shedding old routines that no longer fit. Letting go of habits that once served survival but now sabotage success. And replacing them with rituals that honor your next level. Learning is how you stay fresh, how you stay sharp, how you stay awake. Because nothing is more dangerous than a powerful person stuck in an outdated pattern. So evolve. Grow not just in goals, but in wisdom. Let your habits deepen, sharpen, and refine as you do. And now, we close with this. Every habit is a seed. You plant it with repetition. You water it with commitment. You shield it with focus. You feed it with fire. But you must protect it from distraction, from delay, from the temptation to go back to a life that no longer fits. The future version of you is not some fantasy. It is a blueprint, waiting for your execution. They are stronger. They are clearer. They are bolder. They are already proud of you. But they need you today, you to do the work, to wake up early, to stay consistent, to speak truth, to move with purpose, to build rituals that make your name unshakable. This is not about being perfect. It's about being committed to the future more than the familiarity of the past. So build your habits like your life depends on it, because it does. Build with fire. Build with truth. Build with love for who you're becoming. Because that future version of you, they don't need more luck. They need you right here, right now to become non-negotiable. So go. Build habits that serve the future you. And don't stop until the future becomes now. 5. Protect your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Look around you. Everything in your life, your habits, your mood, your thinking, your focus is being shaped by something. Something invisible. Something you often ignore. Something that's either quietly lifting you or silently killing you. Your environment. The people, the places, the inputs, the conversations, the air you breathe, the content you consume, the energy you allow. It's not neutral. It's a force. It's a current. It's shaping you even when you think you're standing still. So if you want to change your life, if you want to rise, evolve, transform, you must protect your environment like your life depends on it. Because it does. Not just the life you're living now, but the one you haven't reached yet. Because the environment you allow today is either building the bridge or burning it. And here's the brutal truth. You don't rise beyond your surroundings. You are conditioned by them. Your mind will reflect the room you sit in the most. Your confidence will mirror the voices you hear most often. Your standards will settle to match the lowest one you tolerate. And that's not weakness. That's wiring. That's biology. That's what Jim Rohn meant when he said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." It's not just a clever quote. It's a warning. Because the wrong environment will seduce you into sleep. It will normalize mediocrity. It will disguise distraction as entertainment, gossip as connection, and noise as stimulation. But the right environment awakens you. It sharpens your edges. It calls out your higher self. It holds you accountable. It demands greatness just by existing. It doesn't let you forget who you are because it keeps showing you who you could be. That's the power of environment. It's not a background detail. It's the operating system of your life. So if you're stuck, lost, uninspired, don't look at your discipline first. Don't look at your goals, your schedule, your strategy. Look at your soil. Because even the strongest seed won't grow in poison ground. Even the most disciplined soul will drown in toxic air. You can't outwork a destructive environment. You can't meditate your way through chronic chaos. You can't hustle your way out of habitual noise. You must change the atmosphere. You must disrupt the pattern. You must walk into your life like a guardian and ask, does this serve my vision or does it steal from it? That's your filter. Every room, every voice, every input, every screen, every scroll. Is this helping me build the life I said I wanted? Or is it helping me forget it? And if it's the latter, it goes. No apologies, no explanations. Because once you've tasted clarity, distraction feels like a betrayal. And once you've seen what you're capable of, you cannot keep letting your environment keep you comfortable and small. This is where mindset takes the lead. You must see yourself as the architect of your surroundings. Not a tenant, not a victim, not a passenger. You are the designer of the world you live in. And if you don't design it with intention, the world will design it for you with noise, with fear, with comfort, with lies. You must move through your space, your schedule, your circle like a sculptor, chiseling away anything that no longer belongs in your future. That means cutting ties. That means rearranging your routine. That means deleting what doesn't serve. Not because you're cruel, because you're clear. There's a difference between being kind and being compliant. There's a difference between being available and being accessible. There's a difference between being open-minded and being porous. Protecting your environment is not about control. It's about consequence, because every input creates an output. And if you let it in, it will shape what comes out of you, your thoughts, your energy, your direction. So build walls where you used to leave doors wide open, and build windows where you used to live in the dark. Create a space where your highest self feels at home, where distraction feels out of place, where negativity can't breathe, where fear suffocates under the weight of your clarity. That is how you feed the mind. That is how you protect the soul. That is how you build a life that breathes power into your purpose. And now we must talk about people, because nothing in your environment is more influential than the people you surround yourself with. They are either mirrors or masks. Some reflect your greatness, others reflect your guilt. Some pull you forward, others anchor you down. Some expand your thinking, others dilute it. But make no mistake, no one leaves you the same. So look closely. Who do you allow to speak into your life? Who do you text when things go wrong? Who has access to your energy when you're vulnerable? Because access is sacred. And most people are draining not because they're bad, but because they're unaware. They're unconscious, reactive, conditioned to complain, deflect, numb, and scroll their way through life. And if you're not careful, their habits become your habits. Their excuses become your vocabulary. Their energy becomes your ceiling. But you didn't come this far to settle for average. You came to break the rhythm, to look around and say, this doesn't match my future. So if the conversations don't elevate you, change them. If the rooms don't stretch you, leave them. If the people don't believe in the next version of you, outgrow them. You are not responsible for saving everyone. You are responsible for becoming the person who no longer needs saving. And that requires boundaries. Unapologetic, unshakable, purpose-built boundaries. Not to keep the world out, but to keep your focus in. And here's the truth. You must grip with both hands. Your focus is your fortune. And your environment is the thief that's been robbing you blind. Not with chaos, with convenience. Not with attack, with access. Every notification, every pointless conversation, every meaningless scroll, every energy-leeching interaction you've told yourself doesn't matter, it matters. Because everything you tolerate teaches the world how to treat you. And everything you allow is either a deposit or a withdrawal against your future. You can't build a legendary life in a low-frequency field. You can't create high-level results in an environment designed for comfort and complacency. You must be ruthless with what you allow. Not because you're rigid, because you're ready. Ready to become the one who no longer rents their potential to people who can't even see it. Ready to stop hoping the environment will shift and start shifting it. That means auditing everything. Audit your desk. Audit your home. Audit your calendar. Audit your circle. Audit your habits. Audit your inputs. And then ask, if my life was a reflection of my surroundings, would I be proud of what I've built? And if the answer is no, that's your invitation. Not to beat yourself up, but to build up something better. Because environment is not just where you live, it's what you live in. It's the container of your evolution, and containers shape outcomes. Now, ask yourself something deeper. What kind of environment does my next level require? Not the environment that maintains what you have, the one that demands your transformation. What does your physical space need to look like? What kind of conversations need to be normalized? What kind of energy do you need to wake up to? Because if the version of you you're becoming needs focus, then every distraction must go. If it needs creativity, then your space must breathe. If it needs courage, then your circle must echo belief louder than fear. Stop looking at what's popular. Look at what's productive. You don't need more information. You need a better ecosystem. Because success isn't found in one lucky break. It's compounded through thousands of invisible advantages that come from a powerful environment. One where your goals are safe to speak out loud. One where discipline is normal. One where ambition is not mocked, it's multiplied. Create that, even if you start alone. Especially if you start alone. Because the boldest builders often begin in isolation before they find resonance. And your silence, your solitude, that is not a prison. It's a forge where the weapons of the next version of you are being sharpened. And here's what most don't understand. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to fix your field. Your energy isn't broken. Your heart isn't weak. Your soul isn't lazy. You're just in an environment that keeps pulling you backward while you're trying to face forward. You keep wondering, why can't I stay consistent? Because your environment is reinforcing the old identity, the one you already outgrew. You keep asking, why don't I feel inspired anymore? Because you're surrounded by apathy, not aliveness. You keep asking, why do I keep falling back into my old habits? Because your current surroundings are built for them. You cannot outdiscipline a space that's designed to derail you. This is not about motivation. This is about alignment. And alignment means one thing. Everything in your life is either helping or hurting the mission. There is no neutral anymore. So raise the bar, not just for yourself, for what surrounds you. Raise it for how people talk to you. Raise it for what earns your time. Raise it for what's allowed into your body, your mind, your world. And when the old voices come back, the critics, the doubters, the distractions, the decay, you'll have already built a fortress. Not to hide in, but to build from. Because you are not just here to succeed. You are here to sustain success. And that requires guarding the gates. Now breathe this in deeply. You are the gatekeeper of your greatness. And you no longer need to apologize for treating your future like it matters. Because it does. The vision is real. The calling is real. The responsibility is real. And when the environment is right, the seed always grows. Your only job is to remove the weeds, the noise, the chaos, the clutter, the people who say, you've changed, because yes, you have. You are no longer loyal to limitation. You are no longer married to mediocrity. You are no longer available for energy that makes you shrink. You are building something rare. So build your life around it. Protect your mornings. Curate your inputs. Clean your space. Speak your vision. Guard your mind. And design an environment that doesn't just reflect the future, it accelerates it. Because the life you're building, it depends on one thing more than all the rest. Where you build it. And now you know exactly what must be done. Protect your environment like your life depends on it. Because it always has. And it always will. 6, get addicted to growth, not validation. The world taught you to chase applause, to collect likes, to please people, to impress strangers, to package your identity in ways that look good from the outside but feel hollow on the inside. You were raised on attention, programmed for performance, conditioned to seek validation from people who don't even know your middle name. And the cost? Your growth. Because you cannot chase growth and validation at the same time. One demands truth. The other demands performance. One requires evolution. The other requires approval. And the moment you choose validation over growth, you choose comfort over calling. You choose safety over soul. You choose being seen over being real. But the person you're becoming, the version of you that's stronger, clearer, richer, freer, they don't need validation. They need process. They need resistance. They need work. They need discipline. They need space to become without the noise of everyone else's opinion. Because growth is quiet. It's often invisible. It doesn't get standing ovations. It gets misunderstood. It gets judged. It gets doubted. But it also gets results. So this is the pivot. The internal rebellion. You must get addicted to growth, not validation. You must fall in love with the silence, the solitude, the stretch, the becoming, because validation feels good in the moment, but growth feels good forever. Understand this. Validation is a drug. It gives you a hit of dopamine spike every time someone sees you, likes you, claps for you. But then it fades quickly, and then you need more and more and more. And soon you've built a life around applause instead of alignment, around optics instead of outcomes, around ego instead of evolution. That is not a life that's a performance. But growth is addictive in the opposite direction. It's uncomfortable in the short term, but powerful for the long haul. It doesn't care about how you look today. It cares about who you'll become a year from now. It doesn't flatter your ego. It reconstructs your identity. It doesn't make you feel safe. It makes you become unstoppable. Because growth is the gateway to everything you want. More peace, more clarity, more power, more capacity, more depth, more wealth, more truth. But only if you stop feeding your need to be seen and start feeding your need to evolve. Let's get one thing straight. Growth is messy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't trend. It doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like disappearing. Sometimes it looks like cutting people off. Sometimes it looks like walking away from everything you once called normal. Growth is grief. It's shedding the version of you that was built for validation. The one who said yes, just to be like. The one who over-explained their vision to people who didn't deserve to hear it. The one who traded peace for approval. That version of you, it must die. Because the new you, the true you, doesn't need applause to feel alive. They don't need followers to feel full. They don't need consensus to act. They don't need to be understood to be unstoppable. And this shift, this break from validation begins with mindset. Because growth is not just about changing what you do. It's about changing how you think. It's about rewiring your standards. No more asking, do they like me? Ask, did I grow today? No more asking, did they notice me? Ask, did I become more valuable today? No more asking, am I getting enough attention? Ask, am I building enough momentum to never need it again? That's the new metric. How fast are you outgrowing your old story? And once the mindset shifts, belief follows. Because every time you choose growth over validation, you build trust with yourself. Every time you say no to performance and yes to purpose, you strengthen your internal compass. And eventually, it gets louder than the noise. Eventually, you don't need to post about your progress because your presence speaks louder. Eventually, you don't need to explain why you disappeared because your results are undeniable. Eventually, you don't even get triggered by the silence because you've made peace with the process. This is what belief looks like in practice. I don't need to be clapped for. I need to be consistent. I don't need to be praised. I need to be aligned. I don't need them to believe in me. I believe in myself, and that is enough. This kind of belief is built, not given. It's built in the quiet hours. When you show up alone, when you execute unseen, when you heal unheard, when you win without needing to prove it. Because validation is public, but growth is private. And the deeper the root, the stronger the tree. So now the question becomes, what are you truly building? A brand or a backbone? A performance or a purpose? An image or an identity? Because one fades the moment the applause stops. The other expands every time you're tested. When you get addicted to validation, you'll chase everything that makes you feel good fast. Trends, attention, likes, praise, popularity. You'll optimize your life for short-term approval and long-term confusion. But when you get addicted to growth, you chase what makes you stronger. You optimize for depth. You prioritize character over clicks. You build something no one can take from you because you earned it in silence. And that silence, that's where your real life begins. Because real growth doesn't happen when they cheer you on. It happens when you cheer for yourself before anyone sees the work. Let's talk about clarity now, because you can't commit to growth if you don't define it. What does growth mean for you? Not what social media says, not what culture glorifies, what you know you've been avoiding. What challenge is calling you? What habit is haunting you? What level have you been postponing? Because you're still waiting for someone to give you permission. Clarity cuts through all that noise. Clarity says, this is what I'm building. This is where I'm going. And this is what I'm no longer available for. Growth loves clarity. Because when you're clear on your path, you stop needing everyone to walk with you. You stop needing applause at every milestone. You stop shrinking when people don't understand. Clarity doesn't need consensus. It needs conviction. That's the fuel that gets you up early when no one's watching. That's what pushes you to learn while everyone else is wasting time. That's what carries you through the days when it would be easier to just go back to normal. But normal is the death of greatness. Normal is where validation thrives and growth dies. So burn normal. Define your new standard. Not for how people see you, but for how you see yourself. And once you're clear, you move with discipline. Because growth doesn't reward ideas. It rewards implementation. It's not what you want that builds your future. It's what you repeat. Discipline is the love language of future you. It says, I don't need this to feel good now. I need this to feel unstoppable later. Discipline is when you do the work, no matter how you feel, because you're no longer trying to feel something, you're trying to become someone. Validation waits to feel motivated. Growth moves anyway. Validation performs for feedback. Growth executes for freedom. Discipline is how you stay rooted when everything around you tempts you to chase attention. Because discipline builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Not the kind of confidence that needs to be praised, the kind that can't be shaken. Because you know who you are. You know what you've earned. You know what you're building, and that's enough. And that's where action steps in. Not flashy, highlight reel action. Not public, performative, overly curated action. Real action. The kind that gets ugly. The kind that makes your hands shake. The kind that makes you wonder, am I really ready for this? That's how you know it matters. Growth isn't found in perfection. It's found in progress. And every time you take action, you move one step further away from the version of you who needed to be liked and one step closer to the version of you who's unshakable. Because the ones who win, they don't act to impress. They act to express. They express their alignment through consistency. They express their growth through choices. They express their purpose through motion. They're not waiting to be chosen. They already chose themselves. So move. Take the next step. Make the next call. Create the next piece. Build the next block. Execute the next habit. And don't do it so they'll notice. Do it so you never go back to needing them to. Because growth without gratitude becomes burnout. And gratitude without growth becomes complacency. But when the two work together, that's when you become unshakable. Gratitude is how you stay grounded when your ego wants to race ahead. It's how you stay centered when your progress feels slow. It's how you celebrate the journey without needing a stage. Validation says, I need the world to see me. Gratitude says, I see myself, and that is enough. It doesn't mean you settle. It means you honor. Honor the path. Honor the pain. Honor the process. Honor the quiet seasons where everything inside you is shifting but nothing outside you has changed. Yet, gratitude is how you feed the fire without burning out. It reminds you that every rep, every step, every no, every lonely morning, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You're not behind. You're being built. So be grateful not just when it's done, be grateful while it's becoming. Because when you're addicted to validation, gratitude disappears the moment attention fades. But when you're addicted to growth, gratitude compounds. It becomes the music underneath the work. It becomes the wind at your back. It becomes the why that never runs out. But let's be honest, growth isn't linear. It's messy, unpredictable, and often inconvenient. Which means if you're truly committed, you must be adaptable. You can't just have discipline. You need flexibility inside your fire. Because the plan will break. The timeline will shift. The support you expected will disappear. And in that moment, validation will scream, "See, you're not good enough. You were never ready." But growth whispers, "Adjust, reroute, pivot, keep going." Because growth isn't loyal to your original idea. It's loyal to your expansion. That's why adaptability is your armor. You let go of how it was supposed to look and move with how it needs to evolve. You're not stubborn with the method. You're sacred with the mission. You still rise. You still execute. You still build. You still become. Because you're not here to be correct. You're here to be capable. You don't worship the path. You honor the destination. That's the difference between those who get stuck and those who build anyway. But even as you adapt, you'll be tested. This is where you'll meet the truth that most never survive. Resilience. Because the journey won't just stretch you, it will strip you. You will be ignored. You will be doubted. You will be betrayed. You will be misunderstood. And if you're addicted to validation, you'll quit. You'll mistake silence for failure. You'll misinterpret rejection as identity. You'll collapse the moment the applause dies. But if you're addicted to growth, you rise. Not because it's easy, because it's necessary. Because you've already buried the version of you that needed validation to feel worthy. And what rose in its place? Conviction, the fire that doesn't flicker in storms. The voice that doesn't ask for permission. The will that doesn't shrink under pressure, it sharpens. Resilience isn't loud. It's relentless. It's the quiet decision to get back up again, to keep building, to keep becoming, to keep walking when no one's watching because you already saw what you're walking toward. And that kind of resilience, it's not given. It's earned in the places where your validation addiction would have made you stop. But you didn't. You became addicted to growth, and it changed everything. Now comes the final layer, learning. Because growth without reflection is just repetition. You don't just move. You learn as you move. Every mistake, a message. Every detour, a discovery. Every failure, a formation of the next level of you. Learning is how you refine the process. It's how you evolve beyond ego. It's how you turn insight into implementation. You're not just living, you're studying your life. You're not just executing, you're elevating your awareness. Because you understand something now that few ever do. Every outcome you desire is already waiting. It's just waiting for you to become the version of yourself who can hold it. And learning is how you close the gap. So take notes. Audit patterns. Challenge assumptions. Burn beliefs that no longer serve your evolution. Make feedback your fuel, not your fear. That's how you sharpen. That's how you scale. That's how you earn the next level. And when you learn fast, you don't need to prove anything. You just keep showing up as someone no one recognizes because you've outgrown every label they tried to give you. Now breathe with me and listen closely. This is the choice that splits your life in two. You can keep chasing validation, Keep asking for applause. Keep wondering what they think. Keep needing someone to say, you're good enough now. Or you can get addicted to growth. You can move in silence. You can build with fire. You can become the person you promised yourself you would be without needing anyone to clap. Because when you get addicted to growth, you stop chasing people and you start attracting purpose. You stop begging for approval and you start owning your path. You stop waiting to be seen and you start building something that can't be ignored. That's the life. That's the version of you that doesn't just survive, they lead. Not because it was easy, but because they stopped asking for validation and started giving themselves permission to evolve. Now go build that version and don't stop until the growth becomes your oxygen. And the only thing you need to hear is your own footsteps. 7, let pain shape you, not shatter you. There will come a moment in your life when everything breaks. The relationship ends. The business fails. The phone call changes everything. The betrayal cuts deeper than words can describe. The person you trusted disappears. And the ground beneath your feet, gone. This moment isn't a possibility, it's a guarantee. Because life doesn't ask if you're ready for pain. It just shows up uninvited, unapologetic, and unavoidable. But in that moment, when you're down on your knees, when your hands are shaking, when your voice is lost and your future goes dark, you have 2 choices. Let it shatter you, or let it shape you. One will bury you. The other will build you. One will break your spirit. The other will forge it. Pain is not the enemy. It's the exposure. Pain reveals what's weak. It exposes what's untrue. It rips away illusions and crushes the masks you used to hide behind. But that's its gift. Because pain doesn't show up to punish, it shows up to purify. And if you're truly willing to sit with it, walk through it, not run from it, not numb it, not deny it, you'll come out on the other side unrecognizable, wiser, sharper, deeper, more focused, more fearless, more you. Pain is the invitation to rebuild with precision. But most people miss it. They treat pain like a curse, like a detour, like a sign that says turn back. But pain is not the end. It's the beginning of the real work. The work of redefining who you are, of learning what you're truly made of becoming someone that life doesn't just happen to, but someone life must answer to. Because anyone can smile when it's easy. Anyone can feel motivated when things are going their way. But the real ones, they build when their hands are bleeding. They create while their heart is breaking. They rise when everything says, stay down. And that's where greatness is born. Not in comfort, not in applause, not in clarity, but in chaos. In moments so dark you forget what light feels like. That's when something deeper awakens. That's when your mind rewires. That's when your beliefs either collapse or become unshakable. That's when pain starts to shape you, not as a victim, but as a weapon. Let's talk about mindset. Because when pain hits, the first battle is always internal. Your circumstances might be outside your control, but your interpretation, that's your territory. And if you let pain become the lens you see through, you'll build a life of limitation. You'll start calling fear wisdom. You'll start calling avoidance peace. You'll start calling giving up realism. But pain isn't a signal to shrink. It's a summons to expand. You must teach your mind how to metabolize suffering. You must turn why me into what now. You must shift from victimhood to voluntary transformation. Because this is the truth most never grasp. You don't control when pain enters your life, but you always control what it builds when it's done. It can build walls or it can build weapons. It can make you bitter or it can make you bold. It can make you cautious or it can make you capable. And the difference is your mindset. A growth mindset doesn't ask, how do I make this stop? It asks, how do I grow through this so that it never breaks me again? Then comes belief. Because pain will always test what you believe about yourself. And if your belief is weak, pain will steal your identity. It'll convince you that your failures are permanent, that your heartbreak defines your worth, that your mistakes are your destiny. But pain is not the voice of truth, it's the voice of testing. And belief is how you respond. Belief says, I'm not what I lost. I'm what I'm building. I'm not what they said. I'm what I've decided. I'm not what happened to me. I'm what I do with what happened to me. This is how you take your power back. You stop believing the narrative pain tries to hand you. You stop replaying the moment you were hurt, and you start rehearsing the moment you'll rise. You stop waiting to be rescued, and you become the rescuer of your own mind, your own heart, your own future. That's belief. Not just some pretty affirmation, but a daily, gritty, grounded decision to not die in the chapter you were wounded in. Now, with that belief comes the need for clarity, because pain will cloud your vision. It will fog your instincts. It will make you question everything. But clarity cuts through. Clarity says, this hurts, but it's not forever. This sucks, but it's not the story. This moment is dark, but I'm not done. You must ask yourself, what is this pain here to teach me? Not, why did this happen? But what is this revealing? What pattern do I need to break? What truth have I been avoiding? What part of me was overexposed, unprotected, too easily shattered? Clarity is when you stop emotional spinning and start strategic reframing. And when you find that clarity, you don't just survive the pain, you use it. You mine it for wisdom. You wring it dry. You become so intimate with it that it can never surprise you again. And in that clarity, you build the blueprint for your next level. Because pain doesn't just point to what broke. It points to what must be built differently next time. And now you see it. And once you see it, truly see it, something shifts. You stop begging for things to go back to the way they were. You stop praying for ease and start preparing for elevation. You stop asking for the pain to disappear and start using it as the raw material of your transformation. Because now you understand something most people never will. Pain is not the enemy. Comfort is. Comfort will keep you fragile. Comfort will keep you small. Comfort will lie to you and call it peace when what you're really experiencing is quiet surrender. But pain has no such illusions. Pain tells the truth. It says, you're exposed here. It says, this belief doesn't hold up. It says, this relationship isn't real. It says, this dream requires more of you than you've been willing to give. So you don't just survive pain, you let it become your vision, the lens through which you see what matters now. You begin to ask, what kind of life must I build so that this kind of pain never has power over me again? That's where legacy is born, not in fantasy and fire. And when you have vision, purpose takes over. Purpose is what makes the pain worth it. It's what gives meaning to the nights you didn't sleep, to the days you couldn't breathe, to the moments you thought you'd never recover. Because purpose doesn't erase the pain, it redirects it. It gives it form. It gives it function. It gives it a mission. Suddenly, the betrayal becomes a boundary. The failure becomes a formula. The heartbreak becomes a hammer you use to build something that cannot be broken. Purpose is when you take the most painful chapter of your life and make it required reading for your evolution. You don't hide it. You don't downplay it. You wield it like a sword. Because now, you're not just here to feel better. You're here to become someone better. Someone with a reason so strong, they no longer need approval to move. Someone with a why so real that even when they fall, they crawl forward anyway. That's what separates the average from the awakened. The average asks for comfort. The awakened build with conviction. And when you're living from purpose, you don't avoid pain. You expect it and plan for it. Because now you're not afraid of being broken. You've already been broken, and you're still here. That makes you dangerous. That makes you ready. But purpose without discipline is a dream without a door. You've seen the truth. You've felt the fire. Now you build the habits that bring it home. And not just when you're inspired, especially when you're not. Because discipline is what separates emotional growth from actual transformation. Discipline is saying, I still hurt, but I'll show up anyway. I still doubt, but I'll take the next step anyway. I still remember what happened, but I will not let it define what happens next. Discipline is the devotion to your future over the comfort of your past. It's what turns lessons into legacy. It's what turns insights into income. It's what turns pain into power. And it's not always graceful. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it's inconsistent. Sometimes it's fueled by nothing but anger and grit. That's okay. Not every day is a masterpiece. Some days are just maintenance. But maintenance keeps the fire alive. It says, I'm not letting this pain go to waste. It says, I'm not living the same story one more year. It says, I'm not going back. Not now. Not ever. That's what discipline is. A promise to the future you written in sweat, struggle, and sovereignty. And now comes action. Because all of this, the mindset, the belief, the vision, the purpose, the discipline, it means nothing if you don't move. Pain wants you to freeze, to overthink, to ruminate, to stay locked in the moment it all went wrong. But growth says, build anyway, even if it's slow, even if it's awkward, even if it's unclear, even if you're still crying while you take the first step. Because motion is the medicine. You don't heal by hiding, you heal by honoring the pain through movement. You take the journal and write. You lace up the shoes and walk. You make the call. You set the boundary. You draw the line. You speak the truth. You hit publish. Not for them, for you. Because every time you act in the direction of your healing, your wholeness, your next level, you are taking a hammer to the chains that pain tried to wrap around you. And those chains don't break all at once. They shatter with each decision to rise. And as you rise, piece by piece, step by trembling step, you'll notice something unexpected. Gratitude starts to appear. Not the soft, surface-level kind. Not the kind that pretends everything's fine when it's not. But the deep kind. The kind that comes from knowing, truly knowing that you survived what should have destroyed you. It's the kind of gratitude that doesn't need an audience. It lives in your bones. It moves through your breath. It becomes your posture. Gratitude not for what happened, but for who you became because of it. Because when you look back, you'll realize the pain didn't ruin you. It refined you. It carved out the weakness. It set fire to the lies. It introduced you to your real self. You'll start to thank the darkness not because it was good, but because it revealed what was true. You'll look back and say, I didn't just survive. I built from it. I didn't just get through it. I grew because of it. I didn't just recover. I rose. And that kind of gratitude, that's what makes you untouchable. You're no longer living from fear. You're no longer trying to avoid pain. You've learned how to transcend it. But pain won't just visit once. It'll evolve. It'll change shape. It'll show up in new ways as you climb, which is why you must develop your ability to adapt. Adaptability is how you keep moving when the plan dies, when the door slams shut, when the person you trusted walks away, when everything you prepared for becomes irrelevant. Adaptability is emotional agility. It's the ability to pivot with power, to say, this wasn't supposed to happen, but I'm still happening. It's when your identity isn't attached to a specific outcome, it's attached to your becoming. You stop clinging to how it should have gone and start moving with how it needs to go now. You stop arguing with reality. You partner with it because you've already proven you can survive the unexpected. Now your job is to lead yourself through it. Adaptation doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means being so committed to your future that you're willing to rewrite the script mid-scene to honor who you are now, not who you used to be. And as you adapt, as you grow, you build something the world cannot take from you. Resilience. Resilience is not bouncing back. It's rebuilding forward. It's looking pain in the face and saying, you had your moment. Now watch what I do with it. Resilience doesn't mean you don't cry. It means you don't collapse. It means you sit in the fire and learn its language. It means you walk through the ruins and start gathering bricks. It means you keep showing up even when your heart is still healing, even when the world still doubts. Resilience is choosing to become someone stronger than the one who got hurt. And that version of you, they don't need everything to go right. They just need a reason to keep going. And pain already gave it to them. Because now you're not driven by ego. You're driven by experience. You've seen what it's like to be broken. Now you're obsessed with becoming unbreakable. That doesn't mean you don't get wounded. It means your identity doesn't bleed with every cut. It means your spirit doesn't shatter when plans fall apart. It means your power doesn't leave when people do. You've been through too much to play small now. You've earned your strength, and no one can take that from you. And now you reach the final shift. Learning. Pain is only wasted if you refuse to learn from it. The lesson is the reward, the insight, the awareness, the self-respect, the boundaries, the depth, the discernment, the fire. Pain gives you a new kind of intelligence, one that can't be found in books or seminars or quotes. It's soul-earned. It's battlefield-earned. It's, I've walked through hell and now I see clearly, wisdom. You start to study your scars. You stop judging them and start decoding them. You ask, what did this experience awaken in me? What standards did it upgrade? What lies did it dissolve? What limits did it make unacceptable? That's how you finish the cycle. Not by pretending it didn't happen, but by becoming the kind of person who can teach from it, live from it, lead with it. Not as your story of suffering, but as your source of strength. And now we arrive at the moment where you choose, not by emotion, by conviction. You've felt the pain. You've seen what it can take. Now you decide, will this pain shatter me? Or will I use it to sculpt something sacred? Will I stay in the story? Or will I start building the next chapter with fire in my chest and steel in my eyes? Because the version of you that rises after this, they are not interested in validation. They are not performing. They are not pretending. They are becoming. And that version of you, they will walk into the world with quiet power. They will breathe without apology. They will carry their pain like a weapon, not a wound. They will no longer ask, will this break me? They'll say, this is where I built myself again. So let it shape you. Let it stretch you. Let it strip away everything that was too small for your next level. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. But don't you dare let it shatter you. Not now. Not ever. You've already made it through the fire. Now, build something from the ashes that nobody can tear down again. 8. Fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. You've been taught to chase results, the grade, the title, the bank balance, the recognition, the applause. They told you success was a destination, that once you arrived, everything would make sense. You'd finally be worthy. You'd finally be free. But what they didn't teach you was this. The outcome is just the receipt. The real transformation happens in the process. In the early mornings, no one sees. In the quiet choices, no one applauds. In the invisible effort, when no one's watching, and you show up anyway. That's where greatness is forged. Because if you're only in love with the outcome, you'll break every time progress slows. You'll question yourself every time results take longer than expected. You'll give up, not because you weren't capable, but because you never built a relationship with the process itself. So here is your new philosophy. Fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. Fall in love with showing up when you don't feel like it. Fall in love with becoming 1% better every day. Fall in love with the reps, the routine, the rhythm. Fall in love with discipline, not dopamine. Because when the outcome is delayed, and it will be, the process will carry you. And when everyone else is quitting, distracted, chasing shortcuts, you'll still be moving. Not because you have to, but because the process became who you are. Let's begin with mindset. Your mind is either programmed to worship results or to cultivate consistency. And the difference is everything. A result-driven mind is impulsive. It's easily discouraged. It quits on day 3 when nothing has changed. It scrolls when it should be studying. It looks for praise instead of progress. It builds in bursts and collapses in chaos. But a process-driven mind, that's different. It doesn't crave instant proof. It trusts long-term compound. It knows the seeds planted today don't bloom tomorrow. It understands that mastery isn't a lightning strike. It's a drip. One choice, 1 hour, one repetition at a time. This mind doesn't ask, how fast can I win? It asks, how deeply can I learn? Because it understands something sacred. The result is the reward, but the process is the becoming. And you can't outsource that. You can't fake that. You must feel every step of it, and that's what makes you dangerous. Once the mindset shifts, belief steps in, and not just belief in the goal, belief in yourself, your system, your ability to stay committed, even when no one claps. Because anyone can believe when the numbers are rising, when the followers come, when the money flows, when the scale drops, when the inbox lights up. But belief is real when you're alone in the gym at 6 a.m., when you're writing in silence while others sleep, when you're recording videos no one watches yet, when you're building something that only you can see. That's where real belief is tested and trained. Every time you show up for the process, your belief strengthens. Every time you stay in alignment, when it's easier to deviate, your belief compounds. And one day, you won't just believe in the goal, you'll believe that you are the kind of person who finishes. That belief doesn't come from dreaming. It comes from doing, and doing consistently, even when the dopamine disappears. That's how champions are born. They're not addicted to results. They're addicted to routine. They wake up for the work, not the reward. Now let's bring in clarity, because the process is only sustainable if the direction is clear. You must know where you're headed. Not just what you want, but why you want it. The outcome isn't your identity, it's a checkpoint, a milestone, a marker on the journey of becoming who you're meant to be. So ask yourself, who is the version of me I'm building for? What does their life look like? What do they value? What do they refuse to tolerate? Clarity cuts through excuses. When your vision is clear, the process stops feeling like punishment. It becomes part of your identity. You don't say, I have to do this. You say, this is what I do. This is who I am now. And when your habits align with your identity, consistency becomes effortless. Because now it's not about willpower. It's about alignment. The clearest people don't need motivation. They move because they're connected to something deeper. They've already decided, this process is my path. And no matter how long it takes, I'm not turning around. From that clarity, you gain vision. But not just the highlight reel. Not the mansion, the money, the applause. That's surface level. Vision means seeing who you are becoming in full color. Seeing yourself wake up energized. Seeing yourself speak with power. Seeing yourself lead with wisdom. Seeing yourself in full control of your life, your emotions, your results. And every time you do the work, you get closer. Even if nothing changes on the outside, everything shifts within. Because vision isn't fantasy. It's strategy with soul. It gives your process meaning. It makes the boring beautiful. It makes the silence sacred. It makes the repetition ritual. You stop asking, how much longer? You start saying, I was made for this. That's the difference between the ones who chase and the ones who create. You're not hoping. You're building. And building means showing up for the process when the outcome is nowhere in sight. Because now that you see the vision, you must step into purpose, the engine behind it all. Without purpose, the process feels empty. Without purpose, repetition feels like punishment. Without purpose, every setback feels personal. But with purpose, every rep becomes holy. Every sacrifice becomes sacred. Every step, even the painful ones, become part of your assignment. Purpose isn't just what you do, it's who you serve through what you do. And sometimes that person is your future self. The one still trapped in a life of inconsistency. The one still being pulled around by impulse, shame, doubt. The one still waiting for a sign. Be the sign. Be the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Because purpose doesn't need to be poetic, it needs to be personal. Why must I become the kind of person who shows up every day regardless of results? Ask that. And ask it until the answer is so real it brings you to your knees. Because once you know your why, you'll stop asking how long it'll take. You'll stop needing to be convinced. You'll move, because not moving would mean betraying your destiny. That's the power of purpose. And once it's lit, discipline becomes effortless. Discipline is no longer this heavy word you try to force. It becomes the natural consequence of alignment. You stop negotiating with your emotions. You stop asking your feelings for permission. You stop rescheduling what your purpose requires. You get up. You do the thing. You move forward, because that's who you are now. Not a dabbler, not a dreamer, a disciplined builder of greatness. Discipline doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it feels unshakable in the long run. Because you know what feels better than comfort? Control. Control of your time. Control of your focus. Control of your outcomes. And that only comes from falling in love with what most people avoid, the unsexy, uncelebrated, repetitive work. That's why discipline isn't the enemy of freedom. It's the gateway to it. Most people want the results of discipline without the identity of discipline. But not you. You're here to embody it. Because you know the difference between the amateur and the pro is this. The amateur works when they feel like it. The pro works until the work becomes instinct. And when discipline becomes instinct, it feeds the most important ingredient of all, action. Not overthinking, not planning, not waiting for a perfect mood. Just movement. Relentless, repeated, inspired movement. Action is the bridge between intention and transformation. You can meditate all you want. You can journal your affirmations. You can make vision boards with gold frames. But if you don't act, nothing changes. Because action is how you cast votes for who you're becoming. Each day, each habit, each repetition, a vote. You either vote for the past or you vote for the process that leads to your future. That's the choice. And it's made daily, not dramatically. Did you act today in alignment with who you say you want to become? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be loud, but it has to be real. Action is how you build credibility with yourself. And the more you act, the more you begin to trust. I don't need external proof to keep going. I just need to stay loyal to the path I already promised myself I'd walk. That's what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. They don't act out of hype. They act out of habit. They're in love with the doing, not just the destination. And then, somewhere along the way, something beautiful happens. You start to feel gratitude, not just for the outcome for the grind. You find yourself thankful for the early mornings, the late nights, the days when it hurt and you showed up anyway. Because gratitude doesn't live at the finish line. It lives in the decision to keep moving, even when it's hard, even when it's thankless. You stop chasing pleasure. You start cherishing the process. You stop looking for shortcuts. You start celebrating consistency. Gratitude becomes your fuel, not your finish line. Because now you see what most people never see. You are not here to finish fast. You are here to finish fulfilled. And the fulfillment isn't in the applause. It's in the alignment. It's in looking in the mirror and saying, I'm proud of who I'm becoming. And I did this one decision at a time, because the path won't stay smooth. It will bend. It will break. It will challenge the very core of your resolve. And this is where you must learn adaptability. Adaptability isn't about changing your purpose. It's about adjusting your path. It's about staying loyal to the destination, even when the directions change, because life will shift. Your energy will shift. Your environment will shift. The people around you will shift. And if you're only in love with a perfect process, you'll break when it doesn't go as planned. But if you're in love with the principle of progress, you'll bend and never snap. You'll wake up late and still move. You'll feel off and still execute. You'll take the hit and still rebuild, because you're not addicted to perfect routines. You're devoted to forward motion. You don't fall apart when the schedule changes. You recalibrate. You don't panic when a tool disappears. You become the tool. You stop needing conditions to be ideal. You realize you are the constant, and everything else can shift around your commitment. This is the mark of those who finish. They adapt without apology. They pivot without drama. They evolve without losing momentum. And through all this, the shifting, the repetition, the quiet effort, you build something rare. Resilience. Not the kind that just survives. The kind that compounds strength over time. The kind that makes you unstoppable. Because the process will test you. It will bore you. It will betray your timelines. It will withhold the results you think you've earned. And still you go. Not because it feels good, but because your mission matters more than your mood. You stop waiting for fire. You become fire. You stop needing permission. You give yourself the order. You stop asking if you're good enough. You prove it through movement. Daily, silently, relentlessly. Resilience is what makes your process bulletproof. Because when you love the process, nothing can be taken from you. They can cancel the show you're still rehearsing. They can delay the reward you're still refining. They can doubt your path you're still becoming. And that's the kind of power that no result can give you, and no failure can take away. And the final piece of this masterpiece is this: learning. Because the process doesn't just move you forward, it teaches you. It shows you your weaknesses. It holds up a mirror. It reveals your patterns. It asks you, do you want success or do you want transformation? Learning is what elevates you from routine to wisdom. You stop just doing, you start refining. You ask better questions. Why do I stall here? Why do I fear that step? Why do I keep sabotaging this progress? You become obsessed, not with speed, but with self-awareness. Because knowledge isn't just what you consume, it's what you apply. It's what you bleed into your habits. It's what you encode into your identity. And the more you learn from your own process, not someone else's blueprint, not a guru's highlight reel, the more unshakably sovereign you become. That's the highest version of success, the ability to lead yourself. So here we are. No applause, no ceremony, no crowd cheering you on, just you and the process. The gritty, sacred, invisible process. The one that forges legends. The one that separates the dreamers from the doers. The one that gives you everything when you stop demanding shortcuts. You've been lied to. You were told to chase the finish line. But real fulfillment? It lives in the footsteps, in the showing up, in the shaping, in the silent mastery. You don't just fall in love with the destination. You fall in love with every breath that builds it. Every early morning, every lonely hour, every repetition that no one applauded but you knew was necessary. That's how it happens. That's how you become the one who doesn't need validation because they built their value from within. Fall in love with the process, not just because it works, but because it frees you. Because it's not about what you get in the end. It's about who you became along the way. And once you've built that, nothing else is required because you already won. 9. Speak life, your words are seeds. Because now that your voice is disciplined, it must be activated through action. Words without action are just noise. Words without movement are just fantasy. And the universe does not reward intention, it rewards execution. So speak life, then live like it's true. Don't just say, I'm powerful. Make decisions that reflect power. Don't just say, I'm focused. Eliminate distractions like your purpose depends on it, because it does. Don't just say, I'm building a legacy. Get your hands in the dirt and build the damn thing. Action is how you prove to yourself that your words are not just decoration, they are declarations. And every step you take in alignment with what you've spoken, that's a contract, a signature on the life you're choosing to live. When you act, you are watering the seeds you've planted with your voice. And when action matches intention, momentum becomes inevitable. The world moves for the person who speaks with power and moves with purpose. You don't need perfect. You don't need permission. You just need to start walking. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if doubt whispers, you're not ready. Because every time you act, you silence that voice. And you amplify the one that says, I was made for this. I've already begun, and I'm not going back. And the more you act, the more you realize something rare. Your capacity for gratitude deepens, not just for the victories, but for the process. Not just for the breakthroughs, but for the breakdowns that led you there. You become thankful for the days no one saw because they taught you how to speak life without needing applause. You become thankful for the pain because it trained your tongue to carry power instead of poison. You become thankful for the silence because that's where your voice was sharpened. Gratitude becomes your language of resilience because now you're not just using your voice to get somewhere. You're using your voice to honor where you are. And when you speak from that place, from grounded, grateful truth, you become unshakable. No longer chasing worth. No longer waiting to be seen. Just anchored, speaking life, breathing power, becoming legacy. But life will test you. It will try to distort your frequency. It will throw chaos at your clarity. It will hand you pain, doubt, delay, betrayal. And this is where adaptability must rise. Because when the storm hits, you don't stop speaking life, you adjust the volume. You pivot your plans, not your power. You may go quiet for a moment, but not silent. You may shift strategy, but not identity. Because the adaptable know, my circumstances don't dictate my language. My language shapes my circumstances. They don't say, everything's falling apart. They say, this is a redirection. They say, this is training. They say, I bend, but I do not break. Adaptability means your voice still builds, even in the rubble, even in the fire, even when nothing outside you validates your decision to keep going. And when others panic, you proclaim, because you've been here before. And you remember, every time I spoke life in the dark, the light returned. And through all this, the discipline, the motion, the pressure, the shifts, you build your final pillar. Resilience. Resilience is not just survival. It's speech that refuses to die. It's saying, I still believe even after the door closed. It's saying, I'm still here even when the crowd left. It's saying, I will rise even with a cracked voice and trembling hands. Resilience is the echo of your highest self in your lowest moments. It's not yelling. It's not performing. It's the whisper that won't quit. And every time you speak life into yourself when life doesn't cooperate, every time you hold on to your declarations when nothing matches them yet, you cement your authority. You become the kind of person who is not moved by noise, delay, or doubt because you know what you've spoken. And what you've spoken is not a wish, it's a seed. A living, breathing force that has no choice but to grow. So now, the voice in you gets louder. Not louder in volume, louder in conviction. You stop asking, will this work? You start saying, it already has. You stop saying, I hope they believe me. You start living like I no longer need them to. You stop shrinking your vocabulary to fit weak conversations. You start walking like someone whose words create worlds. Because that's what they do. That's what you do. Every word you speak is a seed. Every phrase, a foundation. Every sentence, a structure. And when you speak life with precision, with clarity, with power, with consistency, you become a farmer of the future. And your future, it is listening. So speak carefully. Speak clearly. Speak on purpose. Because your harvest is not a mystery. Your harvest is what you've been saying when no one's listening. And one day they'll ask, how did you become this? And you'll smile calmly and say, I spoke it. I planted it. I lived it. And I never stopped watering the seeds. Now go. Speak life. Because your words are not just thoughts. They are blueprints of destiny. 10. Be grateful even for the grit. Gratitude sounds easy when life is soft. When the bills are paid, the phone rings with good news, the body feels light, and your plans unfold the way they looked on paper. But that's not the kind of gratitude that transforms you. Real gratitude is forged in friction. It's born in the grit. It's built in the middle of the mess. Because life won't always be clean. Sometimes it grinds. Sometimes it breaks. Sometimes it hands you the exact opposite of what you prayed for. And in that moment, you have a decision. Will I let this hard season harden me? Or will I let it humble me, sharpen me, build me? Because what if the discomfort is the doorway? What if the resistance is the requirement? What if the pressure is not punishment but preparation? You don't need gratitude for the good days. You need it for the grit days, for the days you wake up tired, uncertain, unseen. For the moments when the world says, not yet, and your soul whispers, go anyway. Gratitude isn't just looking for things to smile about. It's deciding to smile with grit in your teeth. Because here's the truth. The grit is what grows you. The pressure is what sharpens you. The challenge is what wakes you up. The people who build unshakable character, deep peace, and fierce success, they don't just thank the light, they thank the shadows. They bless the storm. They're grateful for the climb, not just the view. That's what sets them apart. They don't just endure the struggle. They elevate through it. They don't run from it. They rise in it. So, if you're in a season of grit right now, be grateful. Not because it's easy, but because it's equipping you. Because this right here is the moment you prove what you're made of. Not when things go your way, but when they don't tend, you go anyway. That's where power is born. Not in praise, but in pressure. Be grateful, Evan, for the grit. Because the grit is what makes the gratitude mean something. Gratitude sounds easy when life is soft. When the bills are paid, the phone rings with good news, the body feels light, and your plans unfold the way they looked on paper. But that's not the kind of gratitude that transforms you. Real gratitude is forged in friction. It's born in the grit. It's built in the middle of the mess. Because life won't always be clean. Sometimes it grinds. Sometimes it breaks. Sometimes it hands you the exact opposite of what you prayed for. And in that moment, you have a decision. Will I let this hard season harden me? Or will I let it humble me, sharpen me, build me? Because what if the discomfort is the doorway? What if the resistance is the requirement? What if the pressure is not punishment but preparation? You don't need gratitude for the good days. You need it for the grit days. For the days you wake up tired, uncertain, unseen. For the moments when the world says, not yet, and your soul whispers, go anyway. Gratitude isn't just looking for things to smile about. It's deciding to smile with grit in your teeth. Because here's the truth. The grit is what grows you. The pressure is what sharpens you. The challenge is what wakes you up. The people who build unshakable character, deep peace, and fierce success, they don't just thank the light. They thank the shadows. They bless the storm. They're grateful for the climb, not just the view. That's what sets them apart. They don't just endure the struggle. They elevate through it. They don't run from it. they rise in it. So if you're in a season of grit right now, be grateful. Not because it's easy, but because it's equipping you. Because this right here is the moment you prove what you're made of. Not when things go your way, but when they don't tand you go anyway. That's where power is born. Not in praise, but in pressure. Be grateful, Evan, for the grit. Because the grit is what makes the gratitude mean something. Now shift your eyes inward. Because this isn't just about circumstances, it's about mindset. The way you see grit determines the way you move through it. If you see it as a punishment, you'll resist it. If you see it as a proving ground, you'll rise inside it. Mindset is the lens. And when the lens is cracked by entitlement, fear, or self-pity, you miss the opportunity that only the hard moments can give you. So the first shift isn't external, it's internal. You don't need the grit to go away. You need your interpretation of it to evolve. This is not happening to destroy you. It's happening to develop you. You're not cursed. You're being called up into better standards, called up into more clarity, called up into unshakable focus. The grit is not the problem. Your perception of it is. So speak to yourself differently, not why is this happening, but who am I becoming because of this? Not how much longer, but how much stronger am I willing to get? Because mindset is not about faking positivity. It's about choosing power in the face of pressure. And when your mind is set, your feet follow. You stop stalling, you stop spiraling, you start moving. The mindset of gratitude isn't passive. It's the most resilient, radical act of inner power you have. Be grateful, even for the grittin'. Watch how your mind turns mountains into materials. 11. Learn relentlessly. Curiosity is the currency of champions. You study winners not to copy them, but to decode them. You ask yourself not how they did it, but why they thought that way, why they moved that fast, why they adapted so early. You don't just admire success, you analyze it. You break it down like a surgeon, because you know that success leaves clues, and every clue you follow becomes another brick in the empire you're building. You read not for information, but for transformation. You're not here to collect quotes, you're here to collect results. You're not here to sound smart, you're here to become unstoppable. And that happens through relentless curiosity. The kind of curiosity that makes you question everything you've been told. The kind that sees beyond tradition. The kind that makes you rip apart the old systems just to understand how they were built and how to build them better. You don't wait for knowledge to be handed to you. You hunt it. You pursue it. You devour it. Because you know the more you know, the more precise your actions become. And precision wins wars. Precision creates wealth. Precision builds trust. While others move from hype to hype, you move with insight. While others guess, you know, because you learned. And while the world watches Netflix, you're consuming strategy. While the world talks about people, you're studying patterns. While the world wastes time, you're building power. Quietly, patiently, ruthlessly. And one day, they'll call it luck. One day, they'll say you were born for it. One day, they'll pretend you just had something special. But you'll know the truth. You earned it in the hours no one saw. You built it with books, podcasts, conversations, failures, journaling, deep questions, long walks, silent reflection. You didn't just level up. You outgrew the old world you used to fit into. Because curiosity took you places talent couldn't. Curiosity made you coachable. It made you adaptable. It made you dangerous. Because when you can learn anything, you can become anything. And when you can become anything, you are unstoppable. And once you realize you're unstoppable, you stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for someone to validate your voice, your vision, your value. You move without applause, you create without guarantee, and you show up not because someone is watching, but because you are watching yourself. You hold yourself to a higher standard. You no longer chase motivation because you've built momentum. You no longer chase clarity because curiosity has already opened the door. You don't ask, can I do this? You ask, what do I still need to learn to dominate this? You start treating learning like an investment, not a chore. like a sacred responsibility, not a task on a to-do list. You start reading with urgency, listening with intention, reflecting with brutal honesty, because you know that every book you finish sharpens your sword. Every new concept gives you an edge. Every single insight has the potential to create a breakthrough in your income, your leadership, your relationships, your self-respect. And so you study not just what's popular, but what's useful. You learn history so you can avoid repeating its mistakes. You learn human psychology so you can lead better, sell better, live better. You learn about habits because discipline is built, not wished for. You learn about finance because if you don't understand money, you'll always be working for someone who does. You learn about influence because impact matters more than noise. You learn about health because a brilliant mind inside a weak body is a tragedy. And most of all, you learn about yourself, your patterns, your fears, your blind spots, your deepest motivations, because self-awareness is the foundation of all power. Champions study themselves like scientists. They don't avoid their weaknesses, they confront them. They don't lie to themselves about their habits, they optimize them. Because they know that real learning isn't just about new ideas, it's about transformation. You don't just read to know more, you read to become more. You don't just take notes, you take ownership. And while the world is busy talking about information overload, you're busy turning knowledge into leverage. Because learning without action is noise, but learning with execution, that's domination. And domination isn't about conquering others, it's about conquering your former self. Every single day you wake up with one mission: to outlearn, outgrow, and out-evolve the version of you from yesterday. You don't compete with the world, you compete with your own potential. You don't chase trends, you chase truth. You don't crave attention, you crave depth. Because you understand this clearly now. The deeper your understanding, the greater your advantage. Surface-level learners get surface-level results. But you go deep. You don't just memorize, you internalize. You don't just understand, you embody. And that embodiment becomes your authority. It becomes the quiet force behind every decision you make, every word you speak, every room you walk into. You don't need to raise your voice, your presence is loud enough. Because people can feel it. They feel the difference between someone who's guessing and someone who's grounded. Between someone who's hoping and someone who knows. And that knowing didn't come from luck. It came from 1,000 quiet hours of relentless learning, of falling in love with mastery, of choosing books over comfort, questions over ego, growth over pride, of understanding that every expert was once a beginner who refused to stop learning, that every leader was once lost until they read the sentence that unlocked their next level, that every game changer was once a student, a curious student, who never stopped building their mind like it was the most valuable empire they would ever own. Because it is. Your mind is the empire. And every single time you feed it with something powerful, with something real, your future expands. Your influence expands. Your income expands. Your inner peace expands. And suddenly, you look around and realize you're no longer learning to survive. You're learning to lead. You're learning to build. You're learning because this is who you are now, a champion of curiosity, a warrior of wisdom, a relentless seeker of truth. And in a world full of distractions, you've become dangerous because your attention has a purpose and your purpose has no ceiling. And now you're no longer the same. You've crossed a line. You've stepped out of the cycle of passivity, of mindless repetition, of empty entertainment. You've become intentional. You don't just consume, you craft. You don't just scroll, you study. You don't just exist in the world. You're engineering your reality thought by thought, choice by choice, word by word. You've become the kind of person who doesn't need external motivation anymore. Your fuel is internal. Your engine is always running. Why? Because your curiosity has evolved into something unshakable conviction. You don't dabble, you devour. You don't need reminders, you've already remembered who you are. A builder, a learner, a weapon forged in silence. And now the world is starting to notice. You speak and people listen, not because you're louder, but because you've done the work. You advise from experience, not from theory. You create from insight, not from imitation. You build with wisdom, not noise. Because everything you say, everything you touch feels real. That's what makes champions magnetic. It's not charisma, it's credibility. The kind of credibility that can't be bought or borrowed. It's earned page by page, hour by hour, lesson by lesson, scar by scar. And the beautiful part? You're just getting started. Because learning never ends. You don't graduate from greatness. You don't retire from growth. As long as you breathe, you evolve. Every mistake is a mentor. Every win is a whisper to go further. Every setback is a sacred opportunity to ask, what is this teaching me that success never could? Because that's the mindset of a champion. They don't see wins and losses. They see feedback. They don't see obstacles, they see curriculum. They don't see the top, they see the next level. And while others get tired of learning, you've made it your lifestyle. You've made it your identity. Because champions don't learn when it's convenient, they learn because it's who they are. And here it is, the truth that will echo through everything you build from this day forward. The ones who learn relentlessly rule silently. They don't need to prove. They become. They don't chase influence. They grow into it. And the world follows them not because of luck, but because of depth. Because when you learn relentlessly, you build a mind that cannot be manipulated, a soul that cannot be broken, a focus that cannot be shaken, and a vision that cannot be stopped. You become so rooted in who you are becoming that nothing can pull you back to who you used to be, not doubt, not distraction, not delay, not even failure. Because now you know. Every setback is a signal to go deeper. Every delay is an invitation to refine. Every challenge is a classroom, and you are the student who refuses to sit quietly at the back. You show up. You take notes. You ask questions. You implement with fire. You fail forward. You recover faster. You grow harder. And one day you look around, and you are unrecognizable from who you once were. Because this is who you are now. A machine of learning. A force of nature. A student of life who learns faster than the world can throw punches. And they won't understand you. They'll ask, why are you always reading? Why do you always study? Why do you care so much? And you'll just smile. Because they haven't felt what you felt. They haven't seen what you've seen. They haven't become who you're becoming. You know the secret now. Curiosity is the currency of champions. And you are investing in it every day. Not because you have to, but because this is the edge. This is the path. This is the difference. And in a world that's changing by the hour, the one who learns the fastest wins. Not eventually, not someday, but now. So don't stop. Not today. Not ever. Keep learning. Keep evolving. Keep expanding. Because your next level isn't waiting in luck. It's waiting in what you're still willing to learn. And when you learn relentlessly, you never lose. You just keep becoming someone the world can't ignore. 12. Burn the plan B, go all in. If you still have a backup plan, you haven't committed. If there's still an escape route in your mind, then part of you is already halfway out the door. And here's the raw truth. Greatness doesn't show up for people who hedge. Champions don't carry parachutes. When they're trying to fly, they build wings or they die trying. You can't make history while holding on to a safety net. You can't unlock your next level while dragging along an exit strategy. If you want to rise, you have to burn the plan B. No more, if it doesn't work, No more, I'll give it a try and see. No more, I've got something to fall back on. No, you don't fall back. You fall forward. You crash through the wall. You go all in or don't go at all. Because here's what no one tells you. Plan B doesn't protect you. It weakens you. It keeps one foot in comfort while the other tiptoes into courage. It makes you second guess yourself when you need to go all out. It whispers excuses when you should be screaming commitment. It makes failure an option, and when failure is an option, it becomes a habit. You can't win with a divided mind. You can't conquer with half your soul. The world doesn't reward the almost committed. It doesn't pay the maybe driven. It doesn't bow to the part-time warrior. It only opens up for those who decide, those who declare, those who cut the rope, burn the ship, close the back door and say, "This is it. I'm in. All the way, all the time. No plan B, no backup, no turning back." Because it's only when there's no way out that you discover what's really inside you. The fight, the fire, the obsession. The power that was always there, buried beneath your comfort, numbed by your doubts, silenced by your distractions. But now, you're awake. Because when you burn the plan B, your mind sharpens, your focus intensifies, your energy amplifies. You start to move with a different rhythm, a different presence. You wake up hungrier. You speak with conviction. You train like your life depends on it because it does. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You become the kind of person who does this no matter what it takes. And that's when the world starts to shift around you. That's when people feel something in your voice. That's when opportunities start chasing you. Because now you've become someone who cannot be ignored. And once you become someone who cannot be ignored, you no longer blend in. You no longer operate like the average. You're not pacing yourself. You're pouring yourself into every moment, into every detail, into every step. You're not hoping anymore. You're claiming. You're not tiptoeing into your purpose. You're charging into it full force because all hesitation has been burned with that plan B. You begin to realize something most people never understand. Safety is an illusion. Security is a myth. There is no real safe path. There's just comfortable failure or uncomfortable progress. And while they keep choosing comfort and calling it wisdom, you're choosing fire and calling it truth. You're stepping into risk not because you're reckless, but because you're awake. Awake to the fact that every single thing you want lives on the other side of full commitment. And the reason people stay small, the reason they repeat the same year 10 times and call it a life, it's because they never went all in. They dipped their toes in purpose, but kept their body in the shallow end of excuses. They flirted with greatness, but stayed married to their limitations. They talked about change, but never cut the cord that tied them to the old version of themselves. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you've burned the fallback. You've closed the comfort loop. You've decided, and decision is the real beginning of destiny. A true decision doesn't ask, "What if it doesn't work?" A true decision makes it work. It finds the way or builds it. It carves the path where none existed before. Because the one who decides with full heart, full fire, full force becomes unbreakable. You stop measuring your chances. You start measuring your character. You stop asking for certainty. You create momentum. You show up earlier. Stay longer. Go deeper. Push harder. You bleed belief into everything you do because there's no backup anymore. This isn't practice. This is it. And when that's the mindset, when that's the energy you unlock, something that can't be taught, a power that can't be replicated, a frequency that makes people feel you before they even hear you speak. You're no longer selling anything. You're becoming something rare, something terrifying to the lazy, something magnetic to the bold, something that wins, not because it's lucky, but because it never gave itself a way out. Because once you give yourself no way out, you stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect timing. You stop asking for signs, for approval, for reassurance. You move with certainty, with grit, with a level of conviction that cannot be taught, only decided. You don't wonder if it's possible, you assume it is. You don't ask if you're ready, you act until you are. You don't seek comfort, you chase pressure. Because pressure sharpens you, and discomfort delivers you to the version of yourself that your old life never could. You train your mind to see resistance as the doorway. You learn to breathe in the chaos, to welcome the confusion, to outlast the fear. Because when you go all in, pain stops being the enemy and becomes your evolution partner. You stop running from the fire. You stand inside it. You let it burn away your laziness, your indecision, your addiction to guarantees, You let it purify your purpose, and then you become different. You become the one others look at with quiet awe, not because you're loud, but because you're relentless. You walk with stillness, not weakness. You don't need to talk about how hard you work. Your results speak in volumes. You don't have to explain your vision. You live it. Every step, every breath, every choice screams, I'm not going back. I've burned the bridge. I've burned the plan B. I don't need a second chance because I'm going to make the first one count. You start speaking a different language, the language of ownership, of power, of non-negotiable discipline. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop treating your dream like a side hustle. You treat it like your oxygen, like your name depends on it, like your legacy is tied to it, because it is. And while they play safe, you play for impact. While they wait, you build. While they talk, you execute. Because you've removed the exit, and when there's no exit, the only move left is through. Through the fear, through the fatigue, through the distractions, through the critics, through the days when nothing makes sense, but you show up anyway because this is who you are now. Not someone with a wish, someone with a war cry. Not someone who's trying, someone who's transforming. And that transformation didn't start with a strategy. It started the day you said, enough. I'm done flirting with potential. I'm done showing up at 70%. I'm done hoping. I'm going all in, and I'm not coming back. Because when you go all in, truly, fully, finally, the universe starts to move differently around you. It's like it's been waiting, holding its breath, watching you test the waters, watching you hesitate, watching you dabble with destiny like it was a weekend hobby. But the moment you commit with your whole being, the moment you burn the plan B and say, I will either win or I will be buried under the work trying, that's when life leans in and says, now you're ready. Doors you couldn't see before begin to open. People you once only admired start calling you peer. The work that felt like struggle starts to feel like rhythm. Not because it got easier, but because you got louder on the inside than the noise on the outside. You stopped needing momentum because you became it. You stopped chasing signs because your decision became the sign. You stopped negotiating with fear because your commitment made fear irrelevant. You no longer talk about your goals like they're dreams. You talk about them like they're due, like invoices with dates stamped on your soul. And your actions, they match your ambition now. Not just in energy, but in precision. You train differently. You study differently. You walk differently. There's a pressure to everything you do, but it's not stress, it's certainty. You're carrying the weight of someone who knows, deep in their bones, that there is no alternative. There is no plan B. There is only this vision, this fight, this mountain, this mission. And here's what happens when you carry that weight long enough, you get stronger. Stronger than your past, stronger than your excuses, stronger than your circumstances, stronger than your worst day, your worst failure, your most painful memory. You outlast it all. And when you outlast long enough, you outperform, you outgrow. You outrun every version of you that used to settle. Every version of you that once said maybe, later, we'll see. Because maybe is dead now. Later is a lie. We'll see is a virus you've removed from your vocabulary. There's only one phrase left in your language. I'm in. I'm all in. And I'm not leaving until this thing becomes real. Because this isn't just about success anymore. It's about who you said you would be when no one believed in you. It's about that promise you made to yourself in the quiet moments. The one you whispered in the dark when the world wasn't watching. The one you refused to let die. Because that promise, that sacred, silent commitment you made when no one was clapping, when no one was watching, when even you had doubts, that promise is everything. That's the vow you made to the highest version of you. And now, every action you take is a vote for that version. Every morning you rise early, every rep you grind out, every decision to keep going, when your body says stop and your mind says quit, is a loyalty pledge to that future. And here's what's real. The moment you burn the plan B, you awaken the part of you that was built for war. The part of you that doesn't need comfort, it needs conquest. The part that doesn't survive, it dominates. That version of you doesn't get distracted by the noise. That version doesn't care about critics or likes or trends. That version only asks, what's the mission? What's the cost? What's the next move? And then it moves without apology, without hesitation, without delay. That's what it means to go all in. It means you're no longer interested in a good life. You're building a legendary one that echoes long after you're gone, one that makes your name stand for something, one that shows your children, your friends, your team, your world, that it's possible to become someone extraordinary if you're willing to sacrifice the ordinary. And if you ever feel tired, if you ever feel like it's not working fast enough, remember this. You don't water a seed and expect a tree overnight. You show up daily. You give your blood, your breath, your focus, your sacrifice, not because you see the fruit yet, but because you know it's coming. You trust the process, you respect the journey, and you commit to the climb, not because it's easy, but because you are worth the mountain. So don't you dare go halfway. Don't you dare play small. Don't you dare carry a plan B in your back pocket like a coward's exit strategy. This is your time. This is your fight. This is your line in the sand. Either you go all in or you stay exactly where you've always been. Almost ready, almost great, almost committed. But almost is the graveyard of champions. Almost doesn't win. Almost doesn't lead. Almost doesn't change lives. Only all in does. So what's it going to be? You already know. Burn the plan B. Go all in. And don't look back, because your destiny doesn't live in the rear view. It lives in the fire you walk through, the pain you conquer, the days you keep showing up when your legs are trembling and your heart is screaming and you still say, I'm not done. I'm not finished. I haven't even started. I'm all in. Forever. No plan B. Only mission. Only fire. Only victory. You don't build a life you love by chasing happiness. You build it by crafting meaning. Meaning is deeper. Meaning survives storms. Meaning is what wakes you up when the alarm hasn't even rung yet. It is what pulls you out of bed when motivation fails, when willpower fades, when everything in you wants to quit, but your mission won't let you. Purpose is stronger than pain. There will be days when you question everything. Days when your effort feels invisible. Days when silence mocks your progress. But that's the secret hall all great builders walk through, the hall of the unseen. The world can't see what you're planting in the dark, but you must believe that the seeds will break through. That's what separates those who build a life they love from those who watch others live it. The ability to persist unseen. And if no one claps for you, clap for yourself. If no one believes in you, believe louder. The world does not owe you recognition, but you owe yourself results. And the ones who get results are the ones who keep showing up, not for applause, but for alignment. Because when you are aligned with your values, your mission, your calling, your life becomes a force field. Distractions bounce off you. Mediocrity runs from you. Doubt doesn't stand a chance. So, protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Energy is the currency of creation, and a distracted mind is a defeated mind. You can't build if your soul is scattered in 1,000 directions, saying yes to everything, responding to every ping, performing for every opinion. Simplicity is a superpower. Cut the noise, close the tabs, shut the doors. Focus is how you make magic. And here's something nobody tells you. Confidence is not something you're born with, it's built. It's earned. Every time you do the hard thing you didn't think you could do, your self-trust expands. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It's silent. It's the quiet knowing, I've got me. And when you've got you, nothing can stop you. Now listen closely, because this matters more than most realize. Success is not just about discipline. It's about self-respect. You don't go to the gym because it's fun. You go because the future version of you deserves a healthy body. You don't wake up early because you're a morning person. You wake up early because your dream deserves more hours. You don't set boundaries because you're cold. You do it because your peace is worth protecting. Everything you do is a vote for the kind of life you're building. Every yes, every no, every late night you push through, every temptation you turn down, every small decision echoes into your legacy. And legacy isn't built when the cameras are on. It's built when nobody's watching. So if you're in a quiet season, embrace it. The quiet season is where legends are made. The grind behind the curtain is what makes the moment on stage powerful. Don't envy the spotlight. Master the shadows. Because once the spotlight comes, and it will, you won't rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your preparation. So train like it's already yours. Speak like you've already arrived. Move like your destiny is inevitable. Because it is, if you refuse to quit. There is no version of greatness that doesn't go through the fire. But the fire isn't here to destroy you. It's here to refine you. You are being shaped, hardened, tempered like steel. You are being asked to shed the parts of you that can't come with you into your next chapter. So let go. Let go of the old story. Let go of the identity rooted in your past. Let go of the fear that used to guide you. Because those things were written by a version of you that didn't know your power yet. You know better now. And once you know better, you owe better. This is the awakening, the quiet revolution, the point of no return. Not because you have to, but because now you see what's possible. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You don't just want more, you're ready to be more. And being more starts with doing differently. You no longer move like a victim of your environment. You become the architect of your atmosphere. You no longer wait for motivation, you generate it. You no longer chase success, you magnetize it through who you become. And who you're becoming is dangerous to your excuses, to your doubts, to the version of you that played small. You are rising. Not by luck, not by accident, but by design. This is what it means to build a life you love. To stand in your full power. To walk with a soul on fire. To wake up with mission, move with momentum, and rest knowing you gave your all. And now, I'll ask you, not gently, not politely, but with the intensity that your destiny demands, are you ready to stop talking and start building? Are you ready to stop circling and start claiming? Because the life you love is not a wish. It's a war, and it's one you're built to win. And if you're still here, still breathing, still burning, then it means one thing. Your story is not done. You were not sent here to repeat what's been done before. You were sent to disrupt, to shake the ground with your presence, to leave echoes in the minds of those who witness your rise. You were not born to blend in, you were born to blaze. You are not here to dim your light for the comfort of others. You are here to radiate so brightly that others remember their own fire. And if the world isn't ready for your intensity, that's not your problem. That's their awakening to deal with. Because the life you love will not ask for permission. It will not wait for perfect timing. It will not cower to critics or conform to categories. It will arrive through the daily fire you walk through. It will show up because you showed up again and again and again. It will show up because you stopped waiting to feel ready and started acting like it was already yours. You want freedom? Discipline buys it. You want peace? Boundaries build it. You want meaning? Sacrifice reveals it. You want power? Integrity earns it. You want love? Start by loving the one person you spend your whole life with yourself. That version of you who carried pain but didn't quit. That version who was doubted, dismissed, overlooked, but kept dreaming anyway. That version who had every reason to settle but refused. That is who you're building for. You want to build a life you love? Then start acting like you deserve to love it. Start living like your future depends on you, because it does. When the world gets loud, go quiet and listen to your own voice. When fear says stop, say watch me. When your legs shake, keep walking. When you fall, rise violently. When nothing makes sense, trust that purpose will give the pain meaning. Because one day, they'll ask how you did it. How you built the life no one believed in but you. How you went from nothing to this. And you'll smile. You'll smile because they won't understand. It was never about the things. It was about the becoming. It was about waking up each day and deciding, today I build again. No matter how I feel, no matter who watches, no matter how slow it seems, I build again. Because greatness doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs a relentless spirit. It needs someone who sees what could be and refuses to settle for what is. And now that someone is you, you are no longer waiting for life to happen. You are happening to life. So go not with hesitation, but with hunger, with urgency, with fire. Build boldly, live loudly, love deeply, and let the world remember that you were here. Because you didn't just survive your story, you rewrote it. You didn't just chase a dream, you became it. This is how you build a life you love. And now that you know the way, don't you ever go back?